everyone, and welcome to this video. This is Fire Moon, and I'm super excited to be here today for this new reading, which will be all about Mercury retrograde. So how is this season affecting you? What will Mercury retrograde bring to you? What sort of new insights, understandings, epiphanies, as well as any returns of energies that you are then able to integrate at a higher level and higher understanding. So the way that this reading is going to go is that the first card here will stand for the collective reading, which will be about the specific Mercury retrograde season, so Virgo season of 2022. And each of these subsequent readings will be your pick a card for your specific situation as to how this energy will be affecting you, or how the general energy of Mercury retrograde whenever you're watching is affecting you. So the pick a card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here will be timeless, but the collective reading will pertain specifically to September 2022. So take a second to see which card or cards stand out to you the most. So again, collective reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And hopefully, if you're watching this during this season in 2022, you will stick around for the collective reading. Otherwise, I will see you for one of the pick a card readings, for which you will find timestamps below. So hi to everyone who is here for the collective reading. So this will go into the astrology as well as the general messages and intuitive guidance that I've been getting about this Virgo season as well as Mercury retrograde. And this will also include the Pisces full moon and a bunch of other important astrological transits. So I have some cards here, and I will be jumping in and out of the cards as well as the astrology. So the first thing that came up, I actually picked myself due to a little incident that happened here with a crazy moth who just sort of jumped into the flame and killed herself, himself, themselves. And I think there's still like a bug there. I'm not sure if that's the same one because I tried to remove that. Anyway, sort of a weird metaphor and imagery to start off with here, but for some reason it reminded me of a card that had come up in very recent readings, which is this one from the Vampire deck. So I chose to also use that one for the piles, and this says burnt by the sun, ambition, extension, reach, and I will read the message for this card soon. I also picked a few other oracle cards, and we will pull some clarifying tarot for the general reading. So I have some just intuitive guidance, and I will start with that. So what does Mercury retrograde mean? I have made a video about this for the earlier period this year, and I also included a retrograde message, but for Saturn instead. So this retrograde, the Saturn retrograde was actually going to continue until October 23rd. So if you want to check out that video, do so. It's going to be linked below. So I do already talk about the energy and the meaning of a retrograde, specifically Mercury and Saturn in that video. So I will not be spending too much time on that, but just to sort of recap, anytime a planet goes retrograde, its meaning is not changed fundamentally. It simply moves that energy inwards. It's going to be turning that energy towards yourself. So that's why we get a lot of messages about reflection, about reevaluation, and we hear lots of things about how certain things tend to be stopped in their tracks during a Mercury retrograde. And that is because there is sort of, yes, this enforced moment of reflection and of contemplation that is taking place always, specifically in Virgo season, which is represented by the Hermit card in tarot. That's always about being alone for a while in a way that is productive so that you can integrate all of the spiritual wisdom and the general understanding and the learning that you have been tackling in the near past. So above all, this is the energy of reflection and of inwardness. And one thing that's really standing out to me about this particular retrograde season for Mercury is that, well, first of all, it's going to be happening in the signs of Virgo and Libra, and Virgo is probably the best sign for Mercury to be in because it's exalted there. Astrologically, this means that it's considered a sort of honored guest in that terrain. So Virgo natives are ruled, of course, by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communication, of networking, of anything that has to do with sound, as well as with things like persuasion, rhetoric, and I could keep going on and on. It also just rules relationality in a way that is word-based. So whereas Venus tends to do with relationships in their holistic sense, Mercury is all about the way that words shape relationships too, and any sort of connective element in life. So when it's in Virgo, and Virgo is a mutable earth sign, I love that some of the cards here are already sort of pointing to that. And I'm going to explain all the things and the moth jumping into the flame and everything, but we're starting off with this idea of reflection through the mutable earth energy of Virgo. And this is all about being secure even when things are changeable or when they're moving. Virgo is a sign that's associated with the 6th house in astrology, although not in all systems, and certain astrologers don't like to equate the houses and the signs, but I think for the purposes of this specific season, I do see a lot of similarities between Virgo and the 6th house currently, and the 6th house is not the happiest of houses in astrology because it's associated with illness. People call it the house of health these days, but traditionally it was considered more so the house of illness and things that are not so glamorous. Like kind of the most exalted aspect of the 6th house would be just to recover from something that went bad. But a sort of more modern outlook on the 6th house is routine. It's the element of stability, born of repetition. So Virgo is really good at that. It's an adaptable sign. Any mutable sign is going to be adaptable. So when Earth is adaptable, it's actually going to be, yes, at the sort of 3D level, it's going to be about being dutiful and showing up every single day, no matter how you're feeling, despite not wanting to. Yes, potentially against your health. Even if you feel like just staying in bed all day, you're going to still show up to that job. It's about just in general being consistent. And there are many other things I could say about that, but at the sort of higher level, at the sort of spiritual level, it's really about bridging the spiritual and the earthly realms. Like that's always how I viewed the energy of Virgo, specifically because it is mutable earth energy. So on one side, Virgo energy or mutable earth energy is all about optimization. It's going to always try to adapt things and to improve things and to be very meticulous and hardworking and very intelligent in the way that it goes about that. But it also, and this is where I have always felt that idea that it bridges the material and the spiritual realm, it understands the deep sort of wisdom of cyclicality, and this is a 6th house motif, things that repeat, and the wisdom of waning and waxing cycles and how they are all important. And maybe we sort of in pop astrology have come to know Virgo as an energy of a sort of anxiety as well as of high expectations and of perfectionism, and surely these can be potentially shadow traits sometimes that are associated with this energy. On the other side, it is an energy that understands that the really truly good things take a long time to establish themselves through repetition. So it's also represented by the 8 of Pentacles in the tarot. So just again, once again, showing up every single day and doing the work and not being shy of that repetitive process, but at the same time, learning to enjoy that and to make a sort of sacred space and element out of that repetitive process, not something that is miserable. One card that I've sort of been getting a lot in sort of my vision lately when I've been thinking about and contemplating on the energies of Virgo season is the 7 of Pentacles. So an energy of having already done quite a lot of work, but of being still a little bit unsure of how that is going to manifest or not seeing fully the results of that. And this is sort of that point of connection between this solely material realm, which we can see here represented in this card, which sometimes, you know, if we're showing up against our health and despite wanting to be there emotionally and in other ways, can feel like a wasteland. So sustainability, slow down, tend to your garden. These are all very much Virgo metaphors and energies here. So there is a need here to balance out this attachment, this commitment that we have to repetitiveness and to consistency, as well as allowing ourselves to really just be in the moment and to not feel like we have to lose any element of our health that is really important to us because we're saying that, oh, you know, I'm going to be suffering right now in order so that I may gain this, in order so that I may have this long-term gain. I'm also sensing that a lot of people kind of right now feel themselves to be more in a 5 of Pentacles mode when they're actually in a 7 of Pentacles mode. So one really important thing that I've been feeling is that actually assess what you've already accomplished, because it's way more than you think. You're not living in poverty right now, no matter what it feels like, whether that is materially, spiritually, emotionally, you're not. You've already done a lot of work, and maybe this is what it feels like right now. But the really simple key to switching this and to turning this sort of depleted environment and energy into one that is blossoming and that is rooted and that is very confident in the way that it grows and blossoms is to actually take stock. That's that 7 of Pentacles energy, is to understand all of the things that you have already accomplished and done, and to really respect and honor that. So there's this balance needed, yes, between continuing to work, because it's definitely not the end of the road with 7 of Pentacles, and you're not seeing your full manifestations right now, but at the same time honoring all of the stuff that you've already done, that you've already alchemized and synergized. So Virgo at the very end of the day is the energy of alchemy, of earthly alchemy, and I feel like more than ever right this Virgo season, I feel like earth magic is super, super important. So before you sort of go back and settle into the path that you were on, or depending on what you find in this process of reflection on sort of enacted by Mercury retrograde, completely changing your path, before you do that, there's this need to truly embrace that yin element of earth, to just completely absorb the energy around you as well as of your past, that you fully understand all that you're capable of understanding at this point in your life, so that then whenever you go back out there with some sort of intention, or when you go back to the drawing board and write down your goals and your intentions and things of this sort, you have this much higher sort of wisdom about which things are really important, which details don't matter as much. This is another important thing in Virgo season this year, about which meticulous elements are actually just kind of draining your energy, and they're not really contributing to the bigger picture, the bigger whole. Which things are just sort of there as maybe a distraction for yourself, as maybe sort of something that you're adding as a kind of extra hurdle that you don't need to have in your life, because you're feeling afraid that if you don't have this hectic, busy energy in your life, then you're going to fall behind, or that you're going to discover that the things that you've been working on are not the things that you should be focusing on. So there's this fear here that for some reason I'm feeling more than ever could be drawing that more negative shadow element of Virgo and of 6th house energy, which is sort of like an OCD, anxious way of working to your detriment because of some sort of inner subconscious fear about like discovering something about yourself that is not good enough, not perfect enough, and about sort of maybe wanting to punish yourself for that. So these are some weird sort of deep messages here, but on this topic of the 7 of Pentacles, which is all about taking stock and knowing that you're not fully there, but that you are still on your way. Let's read this card, because I think that this is what it is. So now I can talk about the moth thing that happened, and about the other most important, like almost obsessively like repetitive kind of psychic image that I've been getting ever since the sun went into Virgo, so mid-August to late August. And which was the energy of the sun. And I can say a little bit about that, but let's just read this card first. So this is 28 and adds up to 10, which adds up to 1, and that is the number of leadership as well as of new beginnings and of setting out on a new cycle in your life. So okay, this says, burnt by the sun, ambition, extension, reach. There are times when you have set yourself a great task, when you have decided that you have within sights a glorious outcome. It could be an ambition or a relationship or a position or an achievement, but the meaning of this card is a warning, a caution to you. There is so much that can come to you simply and with ease. That's that Virgo Mercury retrograde energy, but there are things in this world which we both share that must be earned. You must earn this next step, for it is, I can't read anymore. For it is as it is for us. Our nature is to live in the night. This is the vampire speaking here. To be under the gentle, brilliant light of the stars, of candles, of the last moments of sunset, or the first moments of sunrise. To be in the full glare of light is not for us. And at this time not for all time, the fullness of your ambition will not be available to you. It must be earned, it must be deserved, and there is a path to walk and a road to take before you can get there. You may, of course, decide that we don't know of what we speak or of you and of your desire, and you may decide to reach as high as you can. And we say to you, when this sun you reach for burns you with its fire, for it is a star made of fire, you will learn then that it is to be too eager too soon. There is a time and a place and a way in which we earn what will be ours. The desire is worthy of you. You are worthy of reaching it. But for now, the dream which you reach for, you are not yet ready for. There is more work for you to do first. Be wise. Okay, and this might seem like a sort of harsh message, and I'm absolutely getting like those Saturn retrograde undertones. We're also having a Uranus retrograde right now. There's a lot of retrograde motion, Mars as well. Like, this is absolutely retrograde season. But for this to be brought up during Virgo season, specifically in Mercury retrograde, because that's what our topic is here, this really brings me back to that psychic image that I haven't yet explained, which I will explain now, of the sun being this almost violent force. So if we think of the tarot, whenever we see the sun, we're like, yay, happy. This is the happiest card on the deck. It's about happiness, it's about joy, it's about achievement, it's about things coming into being, it's about happy endings, things of this sort. But actually, the true meaning of that sun card is illumination, enlightenment, and truth, as well as revelation. So revelation can be pretty violent if there has been something hiding in the dark that is a little bit gnarly, a little bit dark, that has a shadow element. And Mercury retrograde, right, it wants to bring you truth. It wants to bring you some sort of insight, both about yourself as well as about people in your life, potential relationships. Of course, the sort of stereotypical thing we hear about it is that exes will be coming back, people from your past will be coming back. You are encouraged to not sign contracts, things of this sort, to look at fine print. You might discover something shocking or hear some sort of secret, and all of that is true. But here, really, the deepest sort of message in this card is that the truth can be used for good and for bad. It can be compassionate, or it can be really hurtful or difficult or harmful or violent. And potentially sometimes the reason why we're not shown certain things is because they would be too intense for us at that point. So whatever is in the dark right now maybe is meant to stay that way. Maybe you're meant to find that out at some other time when you have a new capacity for understanding and for taking in things a little bit more objectively. But to go back to the moth who just simply jumped into the flame there, yeah, I mean, that's a sort of cautionary sort of warning about like not taking any sort of leaps and not believing someone who potentially might be too shiny right now, who might be sort of putting on a costume of like being a sun or some sort of leading a light in your life when they're actually not. Because again, the sun has no shadow, and when whatever it shines over, it's going to potentially scorch if that element is not strong enough to withstand its full power. And we have been getting a lot of solar flares throughout August, so maybe that's the energy that I'm picking up on there. But it's not mistakable. Like the energy of the sun is not mistakable. If someone is trying to potentially overpower you or to show you that sort of side when actually they have a shadow side that they're hiding, it's going to be pretty obvious which one it is. Of course, that's one message, but the other, just that energy that Virgo, of course, supports, is to be really careful about the things that the new paths that you set out on. And that's why we have this card here, the crossing initiation. Let's see what this is about. So 54, it's going to be 9, and that's about spiritual learning, really. So there's this new opportunity here to go to a higher level and to, like this portal is open, and that's more light, that's more sunlight energy. But sort of like there needs to be some sort of preparation before jumping in, before fully just kind of, like that moth, just sort of taking that leap and then getting hurt in the process. It's almost like there needs to be some sort of protective element here before you can just do that. And oh wow, look at this. And this card Surrender also has like a kind of sun-like orb and actually a dragonfly or something in front of it. So that's crazy. We should look at both of these. So this says, rite of passage initiation. You've come to stand on one side of a river. The opposite bank leads into the darkness of the eternal cave, where the old dies and then is born again. This is a place where time is forgotten and the seasons cease their dance and stand still, as if in temporary repose. You must cross the river now, honoring and respecting this transition, for it's time to say goodbye to your old ways of navigating your world. Don't be afraid. You've come to the edge of the river because you're ready. You're ready to let go of what doesn't serve you and all of the ways in which you've kept yourself from truly living. Intimacy requires vulnerability and truth, and those are really, really important Virgo traits, especially truth and authenticity. Can you strip away the masks and the barriers of false strength? Absolutely important for the sun energy here to discover what you're really made of. Step in the boat waiting for you. Let it carry you into the cave where the shadows are waiting to be illuminated. Wow, that's exactly the energy of that psychic image that I had. So you can be born again into the world without denial or artifice. Wow, and I literally wrote down, this is really crazy, for the Virgo season messages, I wrote down the bullet point, artificiality versus authenticity. Making the crossing is a beautiful, powerful act of the highest love. And wow, I can absolutely speak about this bullet point I have here. And the sort of energy and the kind of downloads that I was getting for that were things to do with, and maybe this goes back to this sleeping in this potentially self-destructive way idea and element. Cinderella moments, for some reason, came up as a weird download. And tacked on labels. So what is this really about? So I've seen a lot of kind of energy of people doing lots of different things, like investing in lots of things, like maybe buying certain things, like whether that is like services of those who can help them achieve some sort of goal or who can lead them through something in life that will supposedly guarantee them success or whatever. That then they want to showcase in the world and they want to publish as sort of signifiers of their success, of their achievement. But because those things are sort of bought elements, labels, sort of manufactured, tacked on, labels is really the word here. They actually don't even have the impact desired, and they don't get that success that was anticipated or that enabled their purchase in the first place, but now you're sort of stuck with that debt. So I'm not explaining this properly. It's a really weird, and anytime I get sort of like phrases or ideas or even psychic images, it's hard to put into words, and maybe that's because we're already in the Mercury retrograde shadow period, which started around August 20th. But there's something here that I want to dig into. So how can I put this? Like, okay, let's say that you are trying to be, you're trying to do something different, like you are working a 9-to-5 job, whatever, but you actually really want to be a singer or something. So you can, of course, quit your job and do that full time, and that is one thing that can happen after this Mercury retrograde season. Or you can do something like, as you're working that job, you're trying to do things on the side to sort of kind of get the labels or the signifiers necessary for others to view you as potentially a singer, as potentially talented. Like maybe you're making like videos and posting them out there. You're being really careful about like how you create your thumbnails on YouTube. You want to attract the specific audience. You need things of this sort. And specifically, this is the main element of this kind of energy that I'm getting, is that you want to curate basically this perfect image of this ideal kind of dream, like pop star that you want to be, let's say. That's not going to be successful during this time. Maybe that's a blunt message, but that's what this card is about. That's what this is about. And the energy of the sun is going to show you that. Of course, you can either find out by literally burning yourself like the moth, by just quitting your job and doing that and relying on those things that maybe you try to accumulate over a short span of time, like, or maybe even overnight, or you can actually just do the Virgo thing and relinquish artificiality of this kind, which can be useful in certain contexts, but not in this Virgo season and not in this Mercury retrograde, for authenticity. And that is always going to be a much slower process of birth and of creativity and of successful recognition. And that's also feeding into that Saturn retrograde element that's concurrently happening, which wants to reward the long term. It wants to reward the serious, the things that stem from your true purpose organically, not the things that you sort of want to engineer because you sort of want them. There is that need, again, to balance things out in this Virgo-esque way, to be both goal-oriented and action-oriented, but also to be receptive to the truth that is actually there, to actually look at where you are right now and to see what steps you need to take in order to elevate this path that you're on, so that you can actually make it look like the path that you're sensing or envisioning within yourself. So now let's read this surrender card here. So that's 48, and I feel like there's another thing I wanted to say here. Yeah, so you can either just sort of like take that leap of faith without preparation, or while relying on those not so long-term elements that you've built or that you've accumulated, or you can sort of get the feedback in this sort of overbearing, blaring kind of sunlight kind of way from the audience that maybe you were trying to reach, which will sort of, make you understand the things that you still need to work on. So there are ways to do this, but I think the better way is to trust that when the time is right, you will know when to take that leap of faith. You will know when to go to that next level when you're ready, when you have all the elements, all the skills, everything needed to go there, to actually physically take that first step, not just mentally or spiritually. So let's see what this is going to be about here. So liberation from attachment, surrender. When a sky dancer appears, she's inviting you to welcome the deepest power of the feminine in your life. So more yin element, absolutely. You have already overanalyzed, very Virgo energy, your situation to exhaustion. Now it is the time to invite the sacred feminine, the wisdom within your heart, no matter your gender, to guide you to success. If you have become earthbound, plotting and planning and praying for change, cease and desist. Break the habit of being yourself, of repeating the same behavior and hoping for a different outcome. That is sixth house energy. That's really what that is about. Negative patterning. Stop trying to figure it all out and stop overthinking it. Surrender. The sky dancers are heralding the arrival of a new relationship with yourself in your work or in your love life, or all of them maybe. Do not assume that this person or opportunity will rescue you. The only way to liberation is to kiss the ground goodbye and take flight, to rise above the fray and the drama of the struggling, arguing mind. Dance in the sky and view the madness below. By simply witnessing the actors and the human comedy unfolding on the ground, you are transforming it. As you observe the drama, you unleash the power of the sacred feminine that allows for resolution. The sky dancers know the maps of heaven and the way to the holiest and most sacred places or spaces on earth. They come to help you with your current life and, even more important, to guide you to the realization of your own divinity. So wow, I actually could not have had a more perfect Virgo season, Virgo energy message, because this talked about exactly that alchemization of the earthly and the spiritual. So that's it. I have nothing else to say about that, other than to go back to that point about repetition and being stuck in a loop and overanalyzing and not seeing any sort of change. Yeah, sixth house energy takes a long time to actually manifest. So fighting against the current, constantly checking up on that seed, which in the Seven of Pentacles, like you have planted, you have to trust that it's going to grow, is not going to help it grow. It might actually unsettle the earth around it in that mutable earth way and actually disperse the energy rather than keeping it there as it needs to be right now, concealed for a while, so that it actually sprouts like this, so beautifully and in such a blossoming way when it is needed. So integration, embodiment, grounded action. Yeah, so none of that sort of dispersed kind of gambling is not a really good thing right now. Like, oh, let me just see if I just put this out there. That, for some reason, I'm feeling like that is something that would deplete you of success and of energy if you were to just sort of throw things out there that are unfinished or that are not, and that's, Virgo energy. It wants things to be the very best, the highest, not in a detrimental way to the point where it makes you feel unhappy or unworthy that it's not finished or that it's not at that highest, most polished level, because you're allowed to be in every stage of that process. But recognizing when it is time to sort of advertise a certain version of yourself. Like, I think this is really what this Mercury retrograde and Virgo season is going to be about. And yeah, so far we've not been getting a lot of energies about like messages coming in or anything, more about your relationship to self and to the sacred flow of life, and trusting in that divine wisdom that Virgo is so good at, of knowing which cycles are waning, which are waxing, which are external, which are more internally oriented. And another thing that I've been getting is that speed is very important right now. So you might have been going at full speed for the longest time, maybe for quite a few months now, because it's been sort of that energy for a while. And Virgo season is going to ask you to slow down, absolutely. But because it is mercurial energy, it's still going to be a little bit faster than the usual retrograde. But certain things in your life might require more time than others, and certain things can be accomplished really quickly. So that's back to that element of discernment when it comes to like which things merit your attention to detail and which things are actually just not that important, maybe. Which things can you do in 5 minutes, and which things actually require that deep sort of investment in that earthly way, so that you actually do them properly because they're part of your soul purpose. So yes, absolutely, with the Page of Wands here, and actually I saw that as Page of Swords, sometimes you might just have like little petty things around you that you just have to do. And those things, you know, maybe don't spend 5 hours on those things and tend to the details. Like, that is actually a waste of time. But when it comes to the stuff that truly matters, that is tied to, you know, this soul path that we're talking about here, then that is the time to delve really deep and to go to the sort of deepest possible earthly level with it. And to go with speed, I also was getting a message about silence and how important and healing that can be in Virgo season. So Virgo is the minimalist sign. It's about purity, among many other things, and it values things that are not cluttered. So not being in a cluttered energy. So having constant sound in the background is also a form of littering. So I was, getting really guided to say that you're going to be receiving some of these epiphanies, downloads, realizations, understandings about yourself and others around you, and about your path specifically, most importantly career, as we also see here, but also relationships, in moments of complete silence, as well as in moments of being in nature. So tend to your garden. One of the most healing things I've been doing for a few days now is I've been going on walks to a botanical garden, which is so beautiful. That's like one of the best things you could possibly do right now, is just so healing to be around nature and to be around animals as well. And trees can be very significant too right now. So anything that has to do also, with earth magic in general. So and let's see. So I don't know if I want to read into the cards or talk a little bit more about the astrology or the points that I had up there. I'm going to try to weave it all together into it, like a true Virgo Mars here. So let's see. So one thing that maybe you haven't done yet. So this Virgo season, I feel, has a really deep connection to the last Earth season, so Taurus season. So think about May and what was happening then, and think about what happened between May and now. So maybe in May you were sort of given this opportunity to go through a portal, or maybe sort of a portal open. There was a really powerful blood moon that happened in Scorpio, which I feel like gave a lot of people new access to new techniques. And Virgo is a very technique-oriented sign. That's what we're talking about when we speak of meticulousness, etc. So I feel like it gave people access to a lot of new energy that then they could use to alchemize new things in their life. So I feel like, and this is a weird sort of way to read these cards, but I feel like there was a lot of like weird magical energy that came in with this Page of Wands, that you maybe didn't register or didn't see, which now sort of sits there like in this bundle, or maybe in this unopened package. She's also holding a suitcase. I was going to speak about suitcases. That's crazy. like open the treasure chest, open the suitcase of all of the things you've accumulated, all of the materials that you've accumulated since, that's going back to that initial Seven of Pentacles energy, because you've accumulated a lot more than you're using right now. So instead of trying to, maybe invest $5 here and $5 there and whatever, metaphorically, so on, actually there's a whole treasure chest sitting there with all of the stuff that you need. You don't need to just sort of send your energy around in multiple places to see where it takes root, if it takes root, because there's something that you haven't tapped into yet that you're not seeing within yourself. And victory is basically within you. You have this really significant possibility to race forward, to move really quickly in this new direction. But first there needs to be this contemplation and this recognition of what you've already gained. So what did you unearth? What did you gather? What did you understand last Taurus season? And did you feel like maybe you were moving really quickly since that time, or were you moving really slowly? And because speed is so important, that's going to give you a clue as to what direction you need to move into next, because the Chariot is always about two horses going in opposite directions, but you're still moving forward. So there's a possibility now to change momentum, absolutely. If you've been moving really slowly and plodding along like this is very Taurus energy here, then after this Mercury retrograde season and around the end of Virgo season, you're going to be given this chance to move really quickly. If you've been moving really quickly since May, then this is going to be a time when you're going to be asked to adjust something, to optimize something in true Virgo-esque fashion, and to ask the question of how it fits into your overall fate, destiny, and how it aligns specifically with your other people, your soul tribe, and your community. And this is getting at the other message I want to get through, which is that after it goes into Virgo, Mercury is going to be, or actually, first of all, what does it start at? I feel like it goes into Libra. And whenever it's in Libra, then the energy of Mercury focuses on relationships and on connections. So how does this path to potentially, success, that I've been getting lots of energy that has to do with success and material wealth and recognition and career-based things. But how does all of that fit in with collectives, the collectives that you're part of? And is there some sort of element there of connection, or is there some sort of competition potentially between those areas of your life, and why? So yeah, these cards together are telling me, don't forget about that more feminine element, that yin element, which is to not just be so potentially like combative and to want to leap like that moth into the flame, because that's potentially going to fire back at you and going to give you a result that maybe you don't want. But to also remember compassion and kindness and the importance of basically love throughout this time. So is this journey of success moving closer to love, or is it moving away from it? That's really important, because again, to go back to that 6th house message, which is this Virgo season more important than ever, like a warning against doing things that are repetitive, that are detrimental to your health, because you think that they're leading towards this ultimate success. 10 of Pentacles, like this path, the path to this can be kind and compassionate and loving, or it can be full of strife and, like, I'm getting like 5 of Swords energy, like potential betrayals, potential stabbing in the back, energy of that kind. So if you feel like you have to do any of that, or to engage in any of that, whether it is to yourself or to others, then this is a big sort of warning point that tells you to not do that, and to, if it wasn't already obvious with the Empress and the 10 of Pentacles here, we also get the Queen of Pentacles, which is more beautiful feminine energy, and she knows how to wait. She knows that patience is sacred, and she knows about that higher wisdom, that Virgo higher wisdom about waning and waxing cycles, about, this pentacle will show up when it shows up materially, but she knows that she is entitled to it because she's already holding it, in the higher realms and in her heart and within her own space. So it's just about like it coming into being externally as well, if it hasn't already fully, which I feel like for most of us here, it hasn't fully happened yet. So this is absolutely available, but this actually can't be accomplished with any Five of Swords energy. It can't be accomplished with any sort of betrayal, either to yourself or to others. So this sort of highest possible success where, this is the happy family card, but also the happy career card. This is those things bridged together. One cannot be sacrificed for the other if you want both. So you cannot be hurting one thing in your life and expect the other to grow. That's a really important message here, especially with these two cards coming up. You need to be feeding your soul as well as your body in order for all of these things that you're intending to fully blossom. Okay, so that's sort of what I'm getting for this overarching Mercury retrograde and Virgo season message. Let's book some final cards about the Pisces full moon, which is going to be happening on, let's see, I think it's going to be like September 7th. Let me just Google this. I feel like I should know this already. It's going to be September 10th. Okay, so let's get some insight on that as well. And then we'll move into the individual pick a card readings. Thanks to all of you who are still here. I really appreciate it. So, okay, full moon Taurus, detoxify. Interesting. And yeah, I also wrote down the bullet point, letting go of depletions. Well, okay, so let's take those as well. Full moon in Libra, find a balance. And new moon in Aries, go for it. Okay, so yeah, before this going for it can happen, there needs to be this detoxification of an old pattern that has to do with your relationship to materials, to self-worth, as well as to recognition. We have more, of course, the bovine imagery here, and here it's very different. She has flowers in her, what are they called? Not antlers. Oh my gosh, I don't know what the word is right now. Anyway, but she's happy, obviously. Maybe this is like the more feminine archetype of that energy, but in any case, she's thriving, she's out here, she's not burdened by this. Yeah, sort of changing and detoxifying your relationship with money and materials, and not viewing as this sort of like kind of like manipulative process. Like even, for example, like the way that we've been hearing a lot of things about like manifestation of money and like mantras and things of this sort, and like doing spells for money and whatever, like and sometimes these things can backfire in that they actually just intensify that desire, which sometimes it's rooted in lack, which would give you this feeling that you're always trying to get something, like you're always trying to trick the energies of the world, of the universe, of the earth in order to get something. So this is about like changing something, detoxifying something that has to do with that process of viewing that. I don't know what message that was, but there's something there for someone. And then, yeah, finding this balance within yourself before you can fully turn outwards. So yeah, this Mercury retrograde is going to be giving you a lot of insight about which things have been imbalanced in your life in multiple areas potentially, and which things have been holding you back from love, because we get Libra twice, and again, Mercury is going to be in Libra for part of this, so keep your heart open. And this is a message that I think goes for everything in all areas indicated here, even if things are not panning out, even if, maybe you've been trying to also like manifest a really significant soulmate or relationship or something like that, or maybe even a reunion, and it's not here. Keeping your heart open while continuing that work that is that happens every day, and that you show up for every day, no matter how you feel, but also not at the expense of your health. So if there is a day when you feel like you just don't want to engage in the same activities, then, once again, discernment, knowing when to listen to yourself, and when that desire stems from a true imbalance within yourself, materially, physically, and when it stems from just like you sort of like maybe whining, or maybe being a little bit lazy or something that day. Don't assume that it's one or the other. Just be discerning and listen to yourself. Listening, very important, maybe in complete silence, as came up in this reading. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for sticking through this full collective astrological reading about Virgo season and this specific Mercury retrograde. And now I will see you for the pick a card if you choose to stay here. Thanks so much. Bye. So hi everyone who picked the first card. So let's find out what insight Mercury retrograde is going to be bringing you. So the first card will be the overarching theme of this message, this insight, this epiphany, this higher understanding for you. And these two cards will represent the channels of this. So right away, as I'm looking at this card, I get very sort of a magical, ethereal energy, and nature might be very important for you right now. Especially if you were watching this during an Earth season, so Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn. So this is creator, catalyst, maker, mother, father, and it is the number 9, which is that of spirituality, of higher understanding and wisdom. And it also corresponds to the 9th card of the major arcana, which is the Hermit. So you might have important Virgo placements or any other Earth placements. This really does remind me of sort of like all the mythology associated with harvest and things of this sort. I'm also getting weird like poison ivy imagery, but I think most importantly this energy in this card is drawing me to this sort of deer enclosed in this globe, which for some reason is making me think of innocence and youth and something within you that can never go away or that can never die, that can't ever be compromised by whatever happens in your life. So there's something incredibly pure and just gorgeous and beautiful within that you may be able to tap into more significantly in order to bring something about in the world. So of course with mother, father, and maker, this is also giving me energy similar to the Empress card in the tarot. So let's see if we can get any more messages from the guidebook of this card specifically. So let's see what this is about. So number 9, it says, if I can find it, as vampiric ones, we can create a new life. We become makers, and so we are akin to the alchemists of our history who tried again and again to make life. Now you call them scientists, and they merge cells, transform bodies, change people's shapes, repair great injury, change destiny. Sometimes this is wonderful, and sometimes it is most destructive. Of whom do we speak with this card? The destructive geniuses amongst you. They are vampiric ones to us, the ones who convince you that your beauty, your beautiful, vulnerable, unique humanity is not enough. You are being sold a new religion, that of conformity, and each time one conforms, a soul is partially lost, for your soul is held within the nucleus of your cells, within each and one of them. You are the creator of yourself. While you may not create vampires or birth a new life from your blood, you are still a creator each day with your thoughts, actions, and decisions. You create anew the form of your natural energies and soul will take. This is what we wish to say to you now. You can recreate yourself. You may choose to live in the light or in the dark. We vampires have a choice too. We must live in the dark, but we can still be agents of the light, a candle in the dark with our illuminated skin and radiant blood shining from within. When you receive this card, you're being reminded of your responsibility as a creator. You have created an idea, perhaps even given birth to a new one of your kind, just as this vampire alchemist has created this tiny deer she will feed with a vial of transforming blood. You are the vessel through which new life and ideas are born. In life, the new ones, the small creatures you have about, are looking to you for so much guidance. As a creator, you're responsible for those you make. You must see through the time after they are born. You must nurture the young ones, be they ideas or projects or real living beings. You must also teach them and train them and let them know how to survive. So I'm getting a lot of things from this, of course. I've read a significant portion of that because I thought it was all really relevant. But the first thing that really stands out here is this, exactly what I just was saying before, this idea of something about you that is uncompromised or that must stay uncompromised, that maybe you have been conditioned to think needs to be changed, needs to be altered, needs to be somehow labeled a certain way or projected out into the world in a certain way, and especially if you are watching this during Virgo season, and maybe you were called to listen to the general reading, maybe not, but that's okay. I would definitely suggest that for you. One of the main Virgo energies is that of authenticity and of integrity and just presenting yourself as you are without any further adornments and embellishments and things of this sort. Of course, this does not have to mean aesthetically, but specifically when it comes to your role in life, when it comes to your just the essence of your being and your energy. Of course, the other message there was about, basically I would call it like a discernment and mindful way of being. So you create your thoughts, you create your life around you, your physical reality, according to what you think you are worthy of experiencing. So the more that you sort of think that there's something about you that needs to be fixed, that needs to be sort of projected or performed a certain way, rather than just kind of letting it be as authentic as it is as pure and as uncompromised as it should be, then the more you are stuck in this sort of endless negative loop of inner monologue that tells you that you don't have enough, or that you are not enough, and that something about your life is not ideal, or that there's some sort of element missing. So Mercury retrograde is really trying to get you to look within and to see all of the potential that you've overlooked, all of the treasures within, all of the basically the sacred, beautiful, irreplaceable elements of yourself that maybe you've cast to the side because you were so focused on bringing in something new in your life, or you were so like you basically were trying to transform something about yourself in a way to gain recognition or success or wealth or prosperity or something like that. But this is telling you, like, going back to basics, the essence of who you are, is going to give you a sacred sort of key to understanding the next step on your journey and to getting the very most out of what life has to offer right now. So with Pallas, this is Athena, think. There's something here in your thinking that is preventing you from seeing the full extent of the harvest that you already have within you, basically. And that's very sort of, once again, kind of like harvest-like energy and metaphors here, especially with this fertility card here. So very sort of repetitive messages. And I think Pallas is also the asteroid that's associated with, I think of it similarly to Ceres, although this has more to do with thoughts and intellect, but it's also about abundance and about harvest. Let's see what this is talking about here. So 30, and 3 is also the number of creativity and fertility in many ways. So yeah, this talks about being able to understand and have a significant control over words, so that you are very capable of persuading others of your ideas and of the validity of your ideas and your creative projects. So perhaps one of the things that you have really been focusing on is to kind of put yourself out there, to sort of vouch for yourself, vouch for your talents, like basically like try to convince others of your worth. Or even if it's not that obvious, like when it comes to your career, just you've been very outwardly focused on being seen as someone who has a great capacity to be a leader, a creator, a generator, and now you're being asked to turn more inward, to turn all of that energy, which is already sort of like feminine, to turn it inward and to basically like recognize and acknowledge those elements of yourself that are already there, and to embrace a deeper aspect of them, so that you automatically sort of attract that energy mirrored back to you, rather than you sort of projecting it out there and trying to ask others to see you that way or to recognize you in that way as a creator, as someone who is a great leader, as someone who has really great ideas. So this is about some creative project, some idea, some intention that you have been focusing on that has to do with being a certain version of yourself that you've always dreamed of being. And this is telling you that there's a lot more within now that you should be honoring, that maybe in this process of extreme projection, which could have been good or bad or both, might have depleted you of a lot of energy. So it's time to, it's also like that 7 of Pentacles energy that I was getting in the collective reading that I've talked about, if you heard that, which talks about like recognizing what you've already accomplished. So the bridging card that will explain how this further goes into the tarot reading is this one here. So it says wisdom, and that's a number 22, and that's really about spiritual wisdom, and it's about, and this is the master builder number. So this is telling you, like, this is waning gib is 6. So it might seem like a lot of your efforts just have not manifested yet, and like a lot of the intense manifestations that you've been working on very intently, just very regularly, have sort of like slipped through your fingers so far. And it might seem that you have to work like exponentially hard in order to be able to attract this final version of this manifestation. But this is telling you that you need to take a step back a little bit, that you have, not only you have room and time for this, but that it is actually necessary for you at this moment. Because if you were to keep going at this pace in this very outwardly yang-oriented way right now, you might actually be, like that the card was talking about there, going sort of against your integrity engaging in this energy that is, I don't want to say manipulative, but that is just unnatural somehow when it comes to pacing. So with the Three of Swords, yeah, you might have had a really huge disappointment in the past. For some reason, I'm getting a sort of extra message that, because this talks about like two creatures here, two birds kind of getting together, and then someone like walking in on them. Perhaps there's like cheating involved or something like that. Like for some reason I'm feeling like a lot of this like intense motivation may have been sparked by some sort of betrayal that you have experienced in love or in some sort of relationship, especially with someone who's like pretty cocky, pretty arrogant, who wanted to just have their way, because we're seeing this rooster here. But the sun, of course, really symbolizes clarity, and it symbolizes having a higher understanding about where you're at right now and why you're doing certain things. So that's also what this wisdom card refers to. With the Page of Swords too, so any sort of overcompensation through working really hard or through being really sharp with your words too, especially with the Page of Swords here, combined with the Palace energy, which is about persuasion and like being really careful about the words that you use. You're taking extra precautions to like not look like a fool. For some reason when this card came out, I thought it was the Fool card. And to not ever go back to where you were before, where you felt like you were taken advantage of, maybe you were manipulated, you were someone's like puppet that they sort of like were treating as this project, and now you're doing the opposite, where you sort of think of everything that you encounter as like your own thing to create, to mold. And that's great when it comes to your own true purpose projects and true investments, but some things are not meant to be treated in that way. Again, we're getting back to the energy of manipulation for some reason, and this is a very mercurial card, a very mercurial energy in this reading. And Mercury was considered in mythology the great trickster. So this energy of communication, and of course this is a Mercury retrograde reading, this is basically trying to uncover a lot of different ways that you might have experienced the energy of manipulation, especially to make sure that you're not unwittingly rehearsing some of those like basically untrue energies. Like, I don't know what word to use, like falsities basically, because I feel like having been treated in a way that was manipulative or unfair, yeah, in a relationship, I'm really getting that with the Lovers too, as well as the Queen of Cups. And we see this creature here who is sort of similar to these here, who's fishing in the water, and it feels like they're trying to like sort of get some kind of energy, like steal some kind of energy from this figure here, who's the Queen of Cups, who is a creative, beautiful, charismatic, attractive person who has a lot of talents, a lot of energy, and maybe, you know, this energy of like having been all of that, having given all of that. And she also has open books, like a music book here, and some words as well. I don't know what that says. Something, le bonheur, something, I don't know what it says, but it's in French. Anyway, so you might have felt, or after this experience of betrayal, you might have felt that you were too free with your words or with your ideas, like you shared your ideas too freely with others, and they either took advantage of that by like dipping into that like pool of ideas that you allowed them to see, and then maybe taking them for their own, like with the Page of Swords here. When this is reversed, this talks also of manipulation and of potentially stealing, of petty energy, of like little squabbles as well. And this might have been both in some sort of partnership or romantic relationship, or in some other like situation at work. And now we're just being really, really careful. But for some reason, that's the sort of weird message that I'm getting, is that by being overly careful, overly calculated now, and making sure that you don't put any sort of unperfectly processed version of yourself out there, you're unwittingly rehearsing the energy of untruth and of manipulation now, because you're actually sort of compromising that element of you, of who you truly are. Like the Queen of Cups here, she's someone who operates from emotions, from psychic energy, from feelings, and you're sort of compromising the core of that and attracting more of this sort of potentially manipulative energy where you are being treated as a sort of option or viewed as like a sort of potentially exotic creature, in a like not necessarily positive way, in like a more fetishistic way. Like others don't respect the core of your being because you're not allowing that core to be seen now, because there's so many like shields around it basically. So this is telling you to not fear this energy. With the Magician, yes, the Magician talks about power, it talks about personal power, it talks about achievement, it talks about literally like exactly like this says, you know, being a creator and being able to manufacture anything that you want. And you can do that, absolutely. And you could gain a lot of success from the projects that you're working on right now. But for some reason, I'm feeling like there is a price to doing this in a way that is filled with shortcuts. So not taking shortcuts right now is important. And I think that this Mercury retrograde period, whenever you're watching, because this is timeless for any and all Mercury retrograde seasons, this is meant to reconnect you to that core of your essence, so that when it comes out again, it externalizes itself. It's like this new refreshed being. So more fertile energy here with the egg and this little baby bird popping out of it. Like this is about returning to the core of your essential self and of your true pure self, and letting go of any like artifice too. Like that's also what I was getting before, like with this person, like it's giving me like a Roman energy, and that was the time of incredibly elaborate rhetoric. So any sort of like rhetoric, that's a very, very Mercury energy in this reading. Lots of Gemini energy too. Relinquish a lot of that artifice. Any sort of area in your life where you can see right now, like you can honestly look at it and see there's some artifice taking place here. Try to see, first of all, why that is happening. What sort of situation in your life inspired this way of approaching things right now, whether it's your projects, whether it's your own energy, whether it's the way that you relate to people, and then figure out why it might be a little bit depleting to you, why this is not necessarily the best way. Is it impacting any area of your life negatively? And if so, try to remove some of that artifice in those areas of life. So, okay, so this is just a message about how you can integrate this insight that Mercury retrograde is bringing you. So some advice for that. So it says, where can I ask for more help in my life? So this says, until we can receive with an open heart, we're never really giving with an open heart. When we attach judgment to receiving help, we knowingly or unknowingly attach judgment to giving help. So today's soul action would be ask someone for help and receive it with an open heart. And the mantra would be, I ask for what I want and I'm open to receiving it. So one sort of weird message that came through in the collective reading, which I'm not exactly sure if I went through it completely and thoroughly, was that this idea of like a Cinderella moment, and of like in this magician sort of way, like manifesting something that is very glittery and glamorous, but that is only temporary. So maybe you have literally asked like the universe, or you've done certain things, like maybe even engaged in rituals or whatever in order to manifest something, without really asking yourself like logically what it is you actually need in order to accomplish that just by yourself, without any of these sort of shortcuts, these magical shortcuts. And that, for some reason, makes me think of like the other message that came through there in connection with that Cinderella moment, which is that maybe you are trying to play too many roles right now. You're trying to create everything, like the materials that you're working with, the tools, the techniques that you're working with, as well as the finished product. And maybe there's some sort of teamwork that really needs to happen for you to complete these projects here with fertility. And I think this is the triple goddess here. So there are lots of different things represented on this card, and it takes like a whole forest's worth of elements in order to create the finished product. And if there's any sort of like, also, yeah, like artificiality in you trying to create every single element of your life, like to be like entirely self-generating, that's what I'm feeling here, then this is telling you that may be what is actually depleting that core essence of your energy, and therefore actually not only not fully manifesting in the world because it's unsustainable to work in this way, and therefore not giving you the recognition and the success that you're wishing for, that you might be placing so much strain on yourself for. But that is also just compromising your true energy here, and therefore removing you from that purpose. So Mercury retrograde really wants to talk to you about lessening the burden of this creativity that it is that's totally yours and that's sacred to you, but that might be taking on a sort of form that is not ideal right now, because you're trying to achieve something in too short a time, basically. Like, if you're trying to achieve like something that would take 10 years in 3 months, then you know that this is an artificial process that you must, because of course, you know, if you were literally a vampire, yeah, maybe you could create new life, etc., to use that metaphor from that card. But this is talking about logic and being also really realistic with yourself and appealing to others when you need help, so that you don't feel completely depleted once you just run out of energy, because you're trying to provide every single element of this like potion. Like, you can't, you have to buy some, you have to borrow some, like you can't provide every single element of this long-term process, which is not just a really one that's going to take a while, but also one that requires a lot of collaboration and effort from multiple sources and multiple people. And going back to that initial message of like, if you felt betrayed, or if someone took advantage of you before, or someone stole your ideas, and maybe you're trying to be as careful as possible with them, and therefore not appealing to others for help because you feel like they're going to steal from you, or that they're going to manipulate you, or do the opposite of helping you, then yeah, this is telling you to, of course, be more discerning now that you have learned that lesson in the past, because you have gathered this wisdom, and you can trust that your soul knows all of this, but that you don't have to, you know, be afraid of the same cycles repeating. You can be discerning, but you don't have to be completely shut off, because that's actually being more detrimental to you right now. Okay, so hardship, yeah, may I embrace what's happening right now, as baffling or painful as it is. Help me, Spirit, to trust where you are guiding me. I'm yours. So this is literally talking about faith. Exactly. So if you have experienced this sort of hardship, or maybe this situation where your ideas weren't valued, where your energy wasn't valued, and now you feel like you have to really be careful about every single thing that you project out there, from your words to your expression of self-identity to everything else, then this is your message that the more you open your heart again, the more you're going to receive true guidance, true help, and true blessings, so that you're able to complete whatever projects you have in your mind and your heart right now with greater ease. Like, this hardship really wants to end for you, and I feel like it's overdue somehow. Like, maybe this cycle of like mistrust needs to end, and that's why Mercury retrograde is deliberately slowing things down for you, so that you are made aware of why certain things are not working out. So it's all about logic now, and looking at these things, these patterns, journaling maybe on some of these ideas, in order to figure out how to best proceed with this cycle, so that you don't run out of energy. Yeah, so let's get one more card here for the final advice. Okay, that's 2 cards. Let's just get one. Yeah, and also this is about asking for those things, putting those intentions about what you want to receive and what you want manifested in your life from a place of just greater connection to your heart as well. So by being logical, weird sort of message, very Mercury message, you connect more deeply to your heart as well, and you get back to this main essence of who you are, this beautiful Queen of Cups who's creative, who has limitless talents and energy and ideas, and who doesn't have to feel like they have to protect them and shield them from the world in order to keep them safe, so that you can actually release them into the world out of the egg. Yeah, the egg is going to be a protective shell for a while, but in order for that thing to be seen and heard and recognized and lauded and applauded, it needs to actually get out of that shell. So let's see your final message here. So magic starts with me. Wonderful. And we're back a full circle to the Magician card here. And it's sort of dual message of being really creative, but at the same time taking that creativity potentially down a different path and turning it into artifice or into a preventive measure, preventive sort of magic. So this is about reconnecting with that natural, pure essence of magic from within, which you've always had, and which is going to experience a beautiful renewal during this Mercury retrograde season for you. So that is what I see for you, card number 1. I hope that some of this resonated. I'm wishing you the very best of luck. Take care, stay hydrated and well rested and all of this stuff. Retrograde seasons are all about reflecting and turning inward a little bit and not expecting to move at the same pace as usual. So anyway, I would really love to hear your comments to see how this applies to you, if at all. I would really appreciate your likes, shares, subscribes. I also have an Etsy. I have an Etsy store, I was going to say an Etsy channel for personal readings. If you're interested, I do astrological readings for birth charts and synastry charts, etc., as well as other shorter readings. So if you're interested and if you like my reading style, check that out. It's going to be linked below. Otherwise, I hope you have a magical day and hope to see you here some other time. Bye. So hi to everyone who picked the second card. So let's see what insights Mercury retrograde will be bringing you. So what insights, epiphanies, higher understandings, greater wisdom on your current path. And the first card is going to give us the overarching theme for this, and these will be representing the channels that this epiphany, this understanding, this insight will be coming through for you. Okay, so the first card that we have here, and I'm already drawn to this very mythological imagery here with the unicorn, as well as, I'm not sure if this is like a griffin or griffin. Griffin, I can't pronounce words. So this says transgression, flaws, contradictions, mistake. And I'm really drawn mostly to the word contradictions there. So you might sort of be judging yourself, or you might be feeling strange about yourself because you don't fit into any particular group, because there's something about you, your personality, your investments, your purpose, your passions in life that others just can't really categorize. So you might be equally invested in like multiple careers. You might have equally significant talents. So when you go out there in the world, I can't speak anymore, people have a hard time. They might even be intimidated by you because you are like, maybe you're a writer and an artist and like a lawyer at the same time, or you embody like contradictions, which are very beautiful, but which you might feel sick of the fact that even if you wanted to, you can't fit. You can't hide under any specific category. So you might feel like this causes trouble for you at work, like when it comes to finding a job, or when it comes to like committing to a specific career, or to a specific person, to a specific community, to a spiritual group, things of this sort. And let's see what more this card wants to say. But I am drawn to the sort of unicorn imagery here, and to this idea of multiplicity within your soul. You are many things at the same time at once. I'm really getting Aquarius as well as Gemini energy. So you might have really important air placements in your chart. If not, don't worry about it. So let's see what this wants to talk about. So 41, that's going to be 5 total, which is the number of freedom. So you might just be someone who feels like untethered to the earth. You are a very free spirit. At the root of who you are is incredibly free, and because of that, there's not like any artificial way for you to be connected to others, to communities, to societies, to collectives of any kind, whether that is in your career, in your friendships, in your partnerships, in any sort of area. So you sort of are singled out and you stand out, sometimes despite not wanting to. So let's see what this talks about. So there are many in this world, vampire and human, fairy and otherworldly creature, who seem to delight in the faults of others, using them as a way to prove their own worth. See, they point out, you are worse than I, and could there be any worse than this killing of a sacred animal, the unicorn? Oh, that really reminds me of Harry Potter. Now mourned so deeply by this little vampire. This is false glory and disturbing to all of us who live long lives, to see so many worry that they have sinned and hurt others and cannot be forgiven, and to see others glory in the guilt they used to manipulate and feel righteous. The most perfected souls upon this planet have all created moments in their lives where they have gone against their own values and their own hearts, their own souls, and transgressed. They have hurt themselves as they have hurt others. And so when you see this card and wonder what it is you have done wrong, no, it is this. It is incorrect of you to assume that your faults and flaws, your poor decisions, and yes, the mistakes you have made are more ghastly than any other. There is not one amongst any of us who has not done wrong, and it is good that we vampires and you humans can feel remorse and take steps to correct ourselves and do better. But what we witness from here is that you are being told again and again by either an abusive other or your own abusive part of yourself that you are guilty, wrong, and can never be forgiven. You must now take steps to correct what can be corrected, apologize clearly and once if this is the right thing for you to do, and then forgive your own self. But what I really feel like is going on here is that you feel that there's something wrong with you, or others have treated you in this way, like others have cast you out, made you an outcast because of this element about you that is this unicorn, like that element, that's you, and it has been mistreated, misinterpreted, misunderstood, sometimes deliberately, and then sort of like sacrilegiously treated by someone who didn't acknowledge its worth. Also, I'm feeling that others potentially have taken advantage of you and have like sort of sucked dry that beautiful magical energy and maybe tried to use it for their own gains. This is sort of like a similar message to what I was getting in group 1, but for you it feels like, especially because the enchantment card came out, you are just this truly magical creature. I mean, look at how many mythical creatures there are on this table right now, and you just emanate this energy. And this is literally telling you that if you have been doubting your worth, your uniqueness, your strength as well, your resilience really, and the fact that there's something in you that is still pure and that can never be compromised or changed by anyone, no matter what they've done to you, then this is really your message, especially with the solar calm, clarify that that element of you is just yours, and that literally no one can hurt that, no one can betray that, no one can sin against that, because it is eternal and beautiful and one of a kind. So if you maybe have taken some of these harsher or more difficult experiences with others where you were deliberately misunderstood or literally hurt on purpose by others because of who you are, because of your unique essence, like what I'm also specifically hearing is that like you were on one side criticized for being who you are, for being different, but then like maybe stolen from, like some people, like the very people who criticized you and who told you that you couldn't fit in, that you couldn't succeed at this, like then like attempted to like steal your unique ideas, even your unique identity somehow, like the way that you expressed yourself, dressed or created. And then like there was this double-edged like sword situation going on where they were at once criticizing you and being unkind to you, but at the same time they were actually enchanted by you and mesmerized by you to the point where they were obsessed and wanting to sort of like drain you of energy. So potential energetic vampires, narcissistic situations that you've dealt with. So maybe those situations actually made you resentful of who you are and of this unique essence that you carry with you no matter what. And maybe they made you resentful also of like your empathic nature. I'm also really getting Scorpio energy from this too. So especially because of that like sort of obsessive element there. So Mercury retrograde really wants to bring you absolute and total clarity about your unique and precious essence. So with the solar calm, I can't speak today at all. So of course we're in Mercury retrograde shadow period. So yep, exactly. I can't pronounce words anymore. So 16, that reminds me of the Tower. So let's see what this is about a little bit, because this is a new deck for me. So yeah, this is similar to the message that came up in the collective reading. So if you didn't listen to that, I'm just going to slightly talk about it, which is about the intensity of the sun when it's at its highest. So it has no shadow, and especially there have been solar flares lately, which have intensified that kind of energy of revelation and of epiphany and of the truth being revealed in such a way that's completely blinding to those who are in the dark. So this talks about, so it says, when the sun is calm with few sunspots or solar flares, its steady energy is quiet and soothes any turbulence in our solar system. The volume is turned down on all the other aspects of your astrological chart. Telescopes see farther into space. People tend to search for the metaphysical. Plant growth slows down on Earth, but the arts and creative processes often blossom. Politics tend to be opinionated but quiet, attitudes more enhanced. It's hard it's a hard time to start a revolution. Okay, so maybe this talks about this sort of like calm after the storm. And I was going to say with the tower there, reminds me sort of a storm. I mean, with the tower number 16, it reminds me of sort of like an unsettling situation or experience in your life that then calms down. So maybe you have gotten these intense revelations of truth about who people really were in your life, the truth about someone, the truth about how much integrity or how much lack of integrity someone had in the way that they treated you, in the way that they played a role in your life. And now you're sort of in this Mercury retrograde season, you're being given this chance to more quietly reflect on that and to see once again the full extent of your miraculous nature and of your essence, and to recover your connection with that sacred core and essence of who you are. So this is also a similar message to the first card. So if you're called to that, also maybe take a look at that. So now let's see the bridging card into the tarot reading. So this is peace. How beautiful. Waning crescent 5. So this, literally talks about the full completion of this unsettling time, about past this time when you felt that like what was comfortable to you, what was what you connected with when it comes to like truth about yourself was unsettled. But now this is the time afterwards when you're basically given this chance to release any of the negative like untruths, or just the untruths that you might have contemplated during that time, letting go any of the things that made you second guess your worth, as well as your right to just be in this beautiful blissful state. So both of these cards talk about that, and to return to this place that is the most natural to you, which is to be in this bubble, to be your own self, that is not only cannot be compromised, but that just cannot fit into this messy network of unkind energy around you, of people who are jealous of you and who don't understand you. So this is a beautiful chance for you to detox basically from this, all of these unsettling experiences and these situations that brought the energy of, like second guessing yourself into your life. And for you to see that the truth is that you are this beautiful mythical creature that is just so different from others in such a beautiful, positive way. And that is a good thing, and that is not something that you should second guess or feel sad about, or feel regret about, especially with the 5 of Cups here. Some of you may be feeling like life would just be easier if you were a little bit more normal, or if you just didn't have some of the sort of like maybe even supernatural gifts that you have, or just some of the different gifts that you have, like the multiple passions and things that you have. This is telling you that there's nothing there to regret. That this thing that cannot be narrowed down, that cannot be boxed in, basically, is the source of all of your most significant successes in life, as well as the source that will connect you to your true soul tribe and to your true soul family. Okay, so let's pull one more card. Not that will keep you alone forever, because I also feel like, yes, within this bubble here with the peace, there's safety, there's calm, but at the same time it might feel like there's a lot of solitude, even if in the moments when you don't want to feel that way, you don't want to be alone. So let's see. At the bottom of the deck we have the 3 of Coins, collaboration and working with others productively in a way that's creatively fulfilling, working with others who are like-minded individuals who do understand you, who have the same life plan and life purpose as you. Here he's holding a sort of plan for making a building. So this is beautiful. Let's see what this is talking about. So with the 5 of Cups, obviously there's the imagery of spilled milk here with the cat stealing it. And the cow is like, what's happening? So that's going back to that message from, having been potentially like stolen from, drained of energy of your unique essence. but with 2 pages coming up, and they always talk about renewed energy, going back to your roots, going back to your sort of like this. The Page of Cups is like, I always think of it as sort of the inner child card, and the Page of Wands is sort of like the next step of that, like the sort of unruly, like audacious inner child who like just kind of does what they want, and they enjoy the energy of fun and of creativity without feeling any shame about it. So this is about that. It's about coming back to the root of those energies within you that cannot be contained and that shouldn't be contained, because they are so pure, so just so glimmering in nature and feeling about you. And with the Queen of Wands here, yeah, this is about being in your power again, or maybe for the first time in your life, and just adopting this role of being this leader. Maybe the reason you are alone right now, or maybe you have been alone a lot of your life, is because you're meant to forge this completely new path. And sometimes this might feel incredibly lonely and difficult. With the 5 of Coins, 5 of Pentacles here, this talks about having to scourge, having to be in a situation of poverty. And you see these foxes here eating the eggs, the hen's eggs, and she's sort of now depleted of her resources, right? Because once again, we have the energy of stealing. So sometimes it might feel like the only thing that's happening in your life is that you're giving energy out there, but that it is not being given back to you. But that is just sometimes the path of those who are the strongest, the most powerful, the most creative, the most pure of heart. They have to forge these new paths, and they have to create these new things, almost sometimes out of thin air, to the point where it feels like the task is just near impossible. And how could one person be given such a burden? But it's because you're incredibly strong. This is a very advanced lifetime for you, and you have this capacity to create something entirely new. I mean, I love how the Page of Wands goes straight into the Queen of Wands. So this is about letting one of your talents, maybe that alchemical, like magical power within you, maybe those multiple talents that don't add up to any sort of like logical label externally, like letting that spark within you progress into its full, most mature form, so that then you literally manifest this new thing completely, like this new job, maybe this new label that hasn't existed yet in the world, and then feel incredibly happy about it and feel like you're recognized and like you're understood by the rest of the world. So don't be afraid if, especially because the Ten of Swords came up too, don't be afraid if you're feeling like you're in a sort of like rock bottom right now, because, and I've been getting this message a lot lately, before things get better, before you start to see a lot of these results, these manifestations, you're going to be tested even more. You might even come across repetitions of these karmic experiences that you've had where you felt like you were betrayed or like you were stolen from, in order to test you on this path, to test your commitment to self-love and to believing in yourself too. Like also what I'm getting here with this energy is like sort of like Tinkerbell energy, like maybe you've stopped believing in yourself, and because others are not sort of chanting for you, you're kind of, you feel like your soul energy, like your soul essence is dying. And also like with the Sun card, what was it there? I think there was a line there that said like the energy in your chart is the most depleted or something like that, because the Sun represents life force. Like your life force hasn't been supported by external sources so far, but it is exactly in those moments when you're the least supported that you have to really believe in yourself the most. So what did it say? That was going to be 16. Yeah, the volume is turned down on all the other aspects of your astrological chart. Okay, so it was slightly different, but yeah, it's maybe also investing in things that are, maybe if you feel like the solution is to focus, to work even harder and to try even harder and to be more practical than ever, and to like, push down that mystical, like spiritual energy within yourself that like, which you maybe blame for your issues. Like if only you were just more normal, if only you could just fit into more normative aspects of the world and of society, like you might succeed. That's not the solution here. The solution is to believe even more fiercely in that true element of your essence that is the most mystical, mythical, supernatural even, because that's going to be the key to your true success. So the more that the material world and the social world around you seems to be not supporting you, the more you have to fiercely believe in yourself, because there's going to be a point, especially in this Mercury retrograde season, where you're going to be shown a new level of magic within yourself that you're going to be able to appreciate rather than like resent, basically, because that resentment is what's keeping you from using that as a tool that actually gives you, that brings you positive material, real life fulfillment and success right now. So this is a time of reflection and reorientation when you have the chance to just look at yourself differently and to connect with that sense of wonder about yourself, so that you basically end these karmic cycles where you feel resentful for who you are and for the fact that it always seems that you're giving energy and that others are taking from you. Like, that cycle really wants to end, and I think that that is the main thing that this Mercury retrograde season is about for you. Okay, so this is a card that represents the advice on how to integrate these messages, these insights from Mercury retrograde. So maybe some things to journal about, reflect on long walks, etc. So how can I become, or how can I be more kind to myself and offer more grace in this very moment? So really, I think, pertinent message there. So growing our self-love is medicine to this world's broken heart. When you heal, we all heal. When you give yourself more grace, you are able to give the world more grace. So today's soul action would be, look at yourself with a grace filter. You are meant to be in this moment of your life. Release the inner critic and fill in that hole with your soul's truth, that you are infinite, you are loved, that you are already there. And that goes back to that initial message in this card about like you second guessing something that, like some sort of thing within yourself that you consider to be a flaw. Like, what I'm really feeling is that exactly that thing that you are maybe resentful for, that you blame for the issues, the situations, the failed relationships in your life, like that is actually the most sacred element of you, or one of them. And that will be the key to, first of all, reconnecting. Like, once you heal your connection with that element that you have criticized so much, maybe resented, you're going to heal yourself so significantly at this like most essential level, like the inner child level, that then you're going to be able to tap into this much more significant channel of power, and therefore also bring into the world all of these beautiful manifestations, and to gain so much success and recognition, and to be understood more by others, and to want, and to basically be able to attract more people who are supportive, who share your purpose, and who fully understand exactly what you're trying to do, and who then might be able to give you some sort of helping hand as well on this journey. Wow, such a beautiful message here. So let's see what's some further advice for you. Okay, that one fell out first. So being enough, wow, what a perfect message. So the innermost heart says, you are enough, nowhere to go, nothing to get, nothing to change. You need to grow, or no need to grow, more deserving. You, yes, you are love. And I think that's a perfect sort of summary of this reading here. So let's get just one more message for you. Yeah, and for anyone feeling like this road to success, attempted success, as well as authenticity, as well as maybe self-love and embracing the full extent of your authenticity, has been just one hardship after another, like this is telling you that things are about to change after this Mercury retrograde that you're in right now whenever you're watching this. And that you're going to get a real, significant, real life indication that you are being seen and that your worth is going to be recognized. But first, you're given the chance to give yourself that recognition, to be your own greatest supporter, so that then once you've accomplished that, and even if it feels like it's been forever since you tried doing that, you're also going to attract the people who can mirror that back to you. Okay, let's just get one more final message here. Come on. If not, I'm going to pick one card. Just one more. Okay. Okay, so the moon shows me patience. Okay, yeah, so that's referring to potentially the length of this journey that you feel you've been on, that maybe has already felt like never ending, but things are about to change. after the cycle. So just trust that you can take this time for yourself to maybe, meditate a little bit, to give your body some rest, your mind some rest, your heart some rest as well. Even if it feels like you have to save, like you have to be really careful and you have to calculate like how you can allocate your resources right now, like give yourself this kindness, this grace that you want to experience throughout your life. And that is what's going to be perpetuated. And like once Mercury goes direct again, you're going to have this opportunity to integrate that sort of grace, that feeling of being at peace, and to carry that with you in this new cycle and to have that be your new reality. And that's going to manifest all of these beautiful blessings of recognition, of success in your career, as well as of being understood and attracting toward yourself those people who really can be there for you, who are your true soul family. So wow, what a beautiful, like, compassionate sort of reading I'm getting for you. So I'm wishing you all the very best. I would love to hear how and whether this resonated down below. So I would really appreciate your likes, shares, subscribes as well. And for those who are interested, I also have an Etsy shop. So this will be linked below if you want to get a personal reading. I do all kinds of astrological readings like birth charts, solar returns, synastry readings, as well as more directed shorter readings like love readings, etc. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check that out. Otherwise, I hope you have a magical day and maybe see you here some other time. Bye. So hi to those who picked the third card. So let's see what Mercury retrograde has in store for you. So the main oracle card, which is going to be the message, the epiphany, the download, understanding that you're going to be receiving this Mercury retrograde season, is represented by this one here. So eternal youth, energy, newness, vitality. And the two other oracle cards are going to represent the channels through which this epiphany, understanding, illumination is going to be coming through. So we have debilitated from my astrology deck here, discomfort, so that's an astrological aspect, and then rebirth. So already from this card, what I can see is that there is this beautiful golden potential within you that you are not recognizing so far because you've gone through something really difficult that has made you feel super tested, and that maybe made you feel like you've lost an essential element of who you are, like you've lost a lot of your life force, a lot of your like vitality, indeed, like your just energy in general. And this thing was meant to come as a discomfort for you, right? With debilitation, this talks about an aspect that is really difficult, that is constraining, but that isn't completely limited. So you might feel disempowered in something. It doesn't mean that you can't achieve what you want, but you are feeling like it's 10 times harder to achieve it. So this is how you might have been feeling lately. And you might be wondering, like, when is it going to get easy again? So this is bringing up a little bit of Saturn energy. Saturn and sort of, I'm also called to say like Capricorn and Scorpio energy here for some reason. So you might be feeling just too old, like what you've gone through made you feel like you lost touch with the more fun aspects of life, the lighthearted aspects of life. But this situation, this discomfort, this challenge was meant to bring you a higher degree of understanding and like a connection with different techniques and tools. That's a very sort of like Virgo message. So if you're watching this during this specific Mercury retrograde and Virgo season, that might apply even more to you. Also, yeah, she is holding, I think, a mandolin here. So techniques, definitely things that you've been working on acquiring at this time. So you're going to be understanding this Mercury retrograde season whenever you're watching what all of this difficulty was for. So if you've been asking questions about like, why did I have to go through this? Or am I ever going to get recognized? Am I ever going to get the results I want from this? Then this is your message that you're going to be receiving some higher understanding about this, and you're going to get much greater clarity on this. So let's read a little bit from this card and see what this is about. So this is card number 1. So this talks about leadership, it talks about a fresh start, and it talks about being empowered. Okay, so it says, the quest to remain young has never been more fervent than in your time. And this is a we. The vampires are speaking as we here. So everywhere we and you look, you will observe the obsession with being and remaining lineless. Yet there are those who are young in their face and body, who are withered with age within their souls. Youthfulness cannot be found so much in the unwrinkled face and the muscle without atrophy. The true youth is the one who never ceases to look at the world with wonder, The truly youthful human is the one who moves, breathes, and lives with delight and fervor, with a sense of discovery. Those who have accepted imprisonment, order, stasis, and the inevitability of slow corruption, who no longer engage the gifts of the mind and the body, as well as those whose spirits feel tired and jaded, who endlessly complain about aging, and who compare themselves to images created by technology or old before they need to be. And I think the main message I'm getting there is that, yeah, that old before you need to be. For Les Vampires, yes, we seem to stay young, but we merely look young. On the inside, we are often ancient, and because of this long life, so many of us fall victim to our own cynicism. Be aware the enemies of your wellness and youthfulness, which have nothing to do with venerated age, are a disengaged mind, body, heart, and soul. Gather up your determination and do not atrophy. You can be eternally youthful by caring for yourself. This does not mean attempting to reverse aging. It means embracing life. It means exploring the potential of your body and what it can do. It means doing what you love, not necessarily what is age appropriate. And it means having an attitude of joyful investigation into your life. Okay, so what I'm really feeling from this is that there is some situation here that has made you feel like something is not available to you anymore because of what you've gone through. This could be many things. This could literally just be age, as in you feel it's too late for you to accomplish some sort of goal. You think that maybe you've wasted your youth, something like that, and that you've missed out on certain opportunities. Maybe you felt that all you've ever like encountered in this life is challenges and difficulties. All you've ever done is work at the expense of joy and fun and play. This is telling you that this entire process was there as a gift to you, and you are a really advanced person right now, and you were meant to encounter these difficulties so that you would have this accelerated growth in this life. And maybe you've gone through multiple processes of rebirth here and of deeper understanding and of what you consider to be like awakening, but at the expense of having easier, just a more fun experiences in life. So this is saying don't be bitter about any of that. Don't lose faith, and try to, if you can, make up for any potential feeling of lacklusterness, of being overburdened, being just overly cynical because of all of the difficulties and hardships in your life, or just this general feeling of being like weathered with age. Try to make up with that for that with something really small, even if it feels inconsequential, because it's going to get you out of that rut and out of that sort of mind spiral and loop of thinking that all is lost, thinking that you've missed some sort of boat, that you've gone down a different path that you can't change now anymore, and it led you to a place that was unnecessarily dark. To this is bringing up, so November 25th to December 23rd. Oh, I didn't even look at that, and that is definitely that's also Sagittarius season, but it's also the start of Capricorn season. So yeah, definitely I'm feeling Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn placements here, as well as this talks about the winter solstice, and that's the darkest time of the year. So what was the darkest time of your life was actually a time when you were meant to receive this really golden, we're back to that idea of golden key to higher understanding, that therefore brings you such wisdom, basically. Not old age, but wisdom, so that you can be youthful in spirit and no matter your age, and continue through life on this new path, just having this higher illumination for just in general everything that has happened in your life, so that you can have just a continuously and progressively easier and happier and more joyful experience in everything that you do. So let's see what the bridging card is to the tarot reading here. Actually, that's the one for the previous pile. So, oh wow, look, sovereignty, that's awesome. Queen of the Moon, this is one of the most powerful cards in this deck. And it talks about this entire process not having actually depleted you, which you might feel sometimes, but having really empowered you. Even if, yes, maybe you've been tired of hearing what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but this is way more significant than that. This is at the higher self level, like your higher self literally entrusted you with this deep, ancient, almost like really sacred purpose of going through this accelerated growth in this life. Probably even early on, I sense that a lot of you are like old souls, or maybe you felt like even as children you were really mature because you were capable of doing it, and because ultimately you're meant to also guide and inspire others. Now we're back to the number 1, which is all about leadership. So also 41, this adds up to 5. So there is further change coming into your life. So you're definitely, first of all, going to exit this period of what feels like darkness, like winter solstice energies, and you're going to feel more connected to, like, rather than lunar energy, nightly energy, more solar energy. You're going to get that vitality, that life force back, because the sun in astrology represents exactly that. So awesome. Let's see how this is going to progress, and what are some of these keys of understanding that you're going to be receiving in Mercury retrograde, and maybe just more about the situation in general. So I'm using my fantastic Menagerie Tarot for the first time in this overall reading, so I really love this really fun deck. So maybe some of this fun imagery here will cheer you up a little bit, and I don't know, encourage you to make you feel like you're not stuck in any rut. Okay, so Knight of Cups, absolutely getting back your joy for life. A little cute bunny here in Roman costume or something. I don't know what he's doing, but he's drinking something. Let's see, the Knight of Wands. Okay, so 2 knights, although the Knight of Wands was in reverse. I'm just going to note that. So yeah, absolutely, this indicates messages coming in. Also indicates maybe offers for something that will lift your spirits, something that will give you some hope after a time when maybe you felt like you've gotten no feedback, no positive feedback, no encouragement on your work, no recognition for all the intense work that you've been doing. Because I feel like a lot of the stuff here that you've been contemplating, that you've been maybe forced to deal with, maybe even to the point of like having dark nights of the soul and things of this sort, are untranslatable externally. Like, it's not stuff that you can really account for in life. It's not like you can go to your boss and be like, look at all the shadow work that I've done, all the progression that I have done on a soul level. So you're going to, oh my gosh, this is the second card that I've seen with the 9 of Coins, 9 of Pentacles, with someone who's playing a piano. That's really funny. So yeah, it's not like you can, like on normal, according to maybe these norms, societal norms that, as this card was talking about, it's not like the normal like aspects of society would applaud all of the work that you've been doing, because technically it has no value in the real world. And maybe that's what's making you feel just a little bit antsy about your path and your purpose. But this is the most sacred possible work that you could be doing. So do not second guess that. Even if it feels like it's useless, even if it feels like you've gotten no bang for your buck so far, so to say, spiritually, this is something that will bring the greatest possible rewards. And we have some really, really powerful cards here with the Hierophant, the Emperor, and the 9 of Pentacles is about being aligned with your life force once again, and feeling like you're capable of enjoying yourself at every single level. This is also about getting in touch with your body and simply enjoying being in the world again. So this is awesome. Let's see. So with the 2 knights here, yeah, you might have felt like a lack of, because the Knight of Wands came up in reverse, and Wands represents spirit energy. It represents well, yeah, energy. This is the fastest moving knight, so you might have been feeling lethargic lately, or just in general like you couldn't get through the tasks that you had on your to-do list really quickly, or you were sort of plodding through life. But the Knight of Cups did come up upright, so this indicates that all of these emotions that you've been feeling, that maybe you felt like incapacitated you or made you feel really sluggish, were really meant to teach you something significant about yourself, and to give you some sort of clue as to how you can proceed on your path in a way that is not just, you know, sort of, you're not just hanging out there in the dark doing all of this spiritual work and you feel like it's never ending, but that you can sort of bridge that way of existing in the spiritual realm, and in a way that's very self-referential with external energy. So with being in the real world, with being connected to materials and to the physical experience around you, and to also getting that more 3D recognition and acknowledgement from those around you, because we do have the Hierophant here. And this once again talks about convention. So back to this first card, it's also making me think of like, yeah, like accepting your fate somehow, like it's fixed in a way that you shouldn't. Like if you feel like, I I don't know, you're unhappy in your marriage or something like that, and you feel like, oh, there's no way to get out of it. Yes, there, because the Hierophant also represents marriage. It represents any sort of like conventional normative contract that is based on some sort of societal expectation of you upholding it. So, for example, that could be the case, and there's by no means, this is, yeah, with the Eight of Swords, exactly. You're by no means tied to or imprisoned in a situation as much as you think you are. It's just that there's something here that will be, of course, a challenge further for you, a further challenge for you to get out of. But it's all about your mental prison. It's all about your outlook and your belief that, first of all, you can get out of this, and that second of all, this is really important, that you deserve to not feel this way, to not feel constrained, to not feel like you have to owe anything to some sort of like conceptual norm. Yeah, this is all a spiritual journey, and it's really significant. But yeah, I feel a clash between sort of external norms, collective norms, whether that is religion, whether that is any sort of contract in your life, like in your work as well. Maybe you feel you can't get out of a job that is draining your life force, and where you're not using any of the spiritual energy that you are so connected to when you're just by yourself in your own world. But this is telling you that you have this beautiful, unique gift that you have, and that will be more accessible to you if you simply allow yourself to connect to your own particular energy. Like, I'm getting a lot of just, yeah, like draining energy from experiences, people, situations, environments around you. So this is about like stripping all of that away and just revealing, like in this rebirth sort of way, your true self. Your higher self wants you to be connected to that, like that golden core of who you are. Back to that idea of golden for some reason, I don't know, like there's something here, like a golden nugget within you, or maybe the golden nugget of understanding, the golden key to what this Mercury retrograde period wants to bring you, is that there is something like here, like a talent or just a passion that really wants to come forth, but you have to strip away all of these layers of self-limiting beliefs, of any sort of mantras that you've been using to tell yourself that you can't escape a situation, that is too late, that you can't do this, that this sort of thing is not accessible to you, that for you to be connected to your passions, to your more spiritual purpose, is something that is somehow at odds with the fact that you have to be a responsible person, and that you have to be really strong, and that you have to, this is the Emperor. I mean, the Emperor is the most authoritative figure in the major arcana, but he's looking like pretty miserable here, the Lion, right? So he's sort of like blessing these little cubs, but with great power comes great responsibility. And of course, you know this. You might feel that even at the spiritual level, you were granted maybe too much power. Maybe you were granted too many tasks to overcome, too many like levels of rebirth and of high understanding and of awakening, to the point where you feel like, oh gosh, like, can I just have an easy time for once? Can I just have a simple experience? Can I just have like something enjoyable rather than a learning experience? Can I get the reward too, not just the sort of consolation prize of learning, or learning a lesson, or learning through mistakes, or learning through hardship? This is what you're saying, really. But this is about switching that mental, like it's about sort of, I don't know why I'm getting this weird imagery like of a projector, like switching, I don't even know what it is, but switching films, like from one angle where you're considering and you're defining power and empowerment and being on top of things and being responsible in this sort of way, but you just have to switch it slightly, and you're going to see that you can think of power and all of these things in a way where it's truly enjoyable for you, and it brings you not just hardship and like Atlas, energy, like holding the world on your shoulders, but it actually brings you true joy, fulfillment, and like this, yeah, the soul, sparkly soul energy here with this Knight of Wands, which we're going to keep it upright because that's what's coming for you. Okay, so let's see, what's one thing that you could consider, journal about, reflect on during this Mercury retrograde time to help you sort of integrate these things that Spirit really wants to bring your way, that wants to make you more aware of. Okay, so if I had a magic wand and could have anything I desired in life, what would I choose? So right away, I'm not even going to turn this over because it has another prompt here. This really goes back to that first card of, yeah, you're telling yourself that something is not available to you because of some former commitment that you've made. Something to do with contracts too, because especially if you're watching this in September 2022, but that does not have to be the case. Mercury, whenever Mercury goes into Libra, retrograde, it talks about redefining contracts, rewriting contracts, sometimes choosing not to re-sign contracts, sometimes choosing to rip contracts apart. So already I really suggest like doing some sort of meditation about maybe you are confused about your soul contract with someone, or with your job, or just in general, like your soul blueprint in life, or sort of like the this life agreements that you've made for your spiritual journey in this life. So a few things like doing an Akashic Records meditation, doing a meditation that's meant to bring you closer to understanding whatever various soul contracts you're wondering about. And 3, doing a meditation to tear up old contracts that are no longer serving you, like fire energy is really good for that. Maybe even writing something down that you want to let go of, and then burning it in a safe way, like in a bowl or something. That is something that's really coming through for you. Okay, so burn with desire. There is power. Burn, of course, we were just talking about burn. I can't believe this. There is power in your desires. Let them be your fuel today. Your desires are your soul's wings, and it's time to take flight. So today's soul action would be go inward, as if you have a choice with Mercury retrograde. Your answers lie within. What do you desire? Choose what you do. Choose what makes you happy and do that. I mean, that's a perfect summary of everything that we've been talking about here. So happiness, joy, and a connection to your passions and to power, empowerment through your purpose rather than hardship or just simply accepting certain contracts, certain limitations in your life. Is way more accessible to you than you think right now. So you have all of this available to you, and this Mercury retrograde wants to strip away any sort of mental prisons that you have been in, so that you feel like you're moving forward again. Because I forgot about this card at the very bottom of the deck. We have the 7 of Coins. 7 of Pentacles is about taking stock of all that you've accomplished and that you've learned, and this came up really strongly in the collective reading for Virgo season this year. And knowing that, like, basically pausing before you move forward. There is absolutely a deep need to reflect and to integrate all that you've already learned so that you can feel much freer as you move forward. Like, that's really the ultimate goal here, is to feel free. And like, this is sort of like the ultimate outcome for you. I feel like the 9 of Pentacles here is such a funny card. I mean, this cat singing at the piano, like maybe the silliness of this too is something that you need to connect with, and not feeling ashamed of like sharing your passions, your talents, even if it's things that you think are things that you should only do on the side, things that can't connect with your work, like literally maybe going out singing karaoke, something like that. Like, this could really bring you lots of joy and help you realign on this path to just much greater ease and freedom, basically. So let's get you one final message here. I forgot actually which card I used because I'm recording this a little bit later, but I'm gonna use 2 cards for you if that is what wants to happen for this reading. Okay, that one. So health, allow me, divine, to be tender and accepting of my body, no matter what ailments I may have. May I always know it's doing the best that it can. Help me be a loving ally and friend to the sacred form. So that also came up, right, with taking care of your body again and being lighter in general and connecting to your physical form a little bit more mindfully during this time. So especially if you are in an earth season right now, which most of you will be because you're going to be watching this Virgo season, like going out in nature, being around gardens, animals is just super indicated as a healing activity right now. Okay, so let's get you one final message. So this says, my wishes grow big like a tree. How beautiful. We talked about how everything is accessible to you, and we have like magic wand imagery here and energy, and so much fiery, sparkly, beautiful energy, and the energy of growth, organic growth. So sometimes things might not happen overnight as though you were waving your wand, but know that all of the work, all of the spiritual work that you've done so far, all of the reflection and self-awareness that you've come into in this more difficult cycle of your life previous to this reading was something that was incredibly alchemical, and that is meant to bring you so much joy, empowerment, freedom, and acknowledgement, both from your spirit team, but also from the real world around you. So that's what I'm seeing for you. Card number 3, thank you so much for watching. I would really appreciate your comments, to hear your stories, whether and how this resonated. And I also have an Etsy shop for those who are interested in a personal reading. I do lots of astrology readings, so comprehensive stuff like birth charts, synastry, solar returns, things of the sort, as well as more shorter readings, personal readings with just tarot. So let me know if you're interested. Check that out below. Otherwise, I hope you have a magical day and maybe see you here some other time. Thanks so much. Bye. So hi to everyone who picked the 4th card. So let's see what Mercury retrograde is bringing for you. So the first oracle card is going to signify this message, this higher understanding, this download, this illumination that's coming your way. And the next 2 cards are going to represent the channels of that. So the first card that we have is the monster within. So it says internal struggle, personal challenges, and wanting to improve. So I feel like this is a very sort of 6th house energy, which we've talked about in the collective. For this particular Mercury retrograde, although of course you could be watching this during any Mercury retrograde. So this is a very much Virgo as well as 6th house message about routine, about cycles, about showing up consistently, and about constantly wanting to improve, constantly thinking that there is something that is needed to for improvement within yourself, or when it comes to your circumstances, your environment, your routine. So this talks about habits and breaking bad habits, as well as any potential addictions. And this is a very sort of lunar imagery and landscape here, as we see, of course, with the moon in the background. And yes, I'm using a vampire deck anyway, so it's all going to be a bit gothic, but with the wolf here, it's bringing up the imagery of the moon card in the tarot, which is all about illusion, concealment, as well as potential confusion. So you might not have been able to see the way out of this, whatever personal struggle this is, whatever internal struggle it is. You haven't been able to find the solution yet. So it's really amazing that we see the sun card here, as well as clarity, which is crazy that these came out together, because the sun is usually linked to some sort of illumination, clarity. I've spoken a lot about the sun in the collective reading, and I suggest you watch that regardless of what season you're watching this in. But in any case, this talks about finally busting through that cloud, that smoky mess of illusion and concealment, and finally realizing what you need to do to fix the situation or to improve whatever you're wanting to improve. 18 is also the number of the moon card, which I noticed here, and actually the sun in the tarot is 19, so it comes right after the moon, and it signifies progression. It signifies literally clarity, as it's already indicated here, and when added up together, of course, 1 and 8 form 9, which the 9th house in astrology is all about higher understanding, spiritual wisdom, and growth and expansion. So let's read a little bit from this card to see what this is about. So that's a number 25, if that's relevant to you at all. So interesting. So there is something we know more about than anyone could ever imagine. We are afraid never of the world, but of our ability to destroy something tender and beautiful within an instant, because our very nature ensures we hunger for something that we will kill those we love if we take it. So this is the vampire speaking in this deck. It's cute. This is a terrible dilemma, for we are lovable and loving. We know how to draw close and how to be well in control for many years. But at some time, in a moment of weakness, when defenses are down and when we hunger and our humanity is far away, we may snap and our hunger may overrun the incredible control and balance we've had. We would never hurt you, and yet our urge to love you is tied up with our urge to have you. And actually, yes, I was going to note, I don't know why I refrained from noting that this card comes right after the love conquers all card. So there's something here to do about being afraid to open up, being afraid to unleash some sort of energy within you. We must learn vast powers of discipline, and this is what can lead us to vanish from the lives of those we care most for. If you are receiving this card, it would seem you too are struggling with an aspect of yourself that you know can bring harm to another, but which is a natural part of you. You're wrestling the demons that lie within. Okay, but in a different way, like what I'm also hearing for some reason is that you've maybe felt shamed in the past for like loving too hard or for being too much. Whenever we have solar energy, it's life force energy, and anyone who has the sun is in rulership in Leo, so anyone who has a lot of solar energy of this kind, like lots of Leo placements, lots of fire placements, especially if you are a woman or feminine energy, you might have been told to silence that, or that something about that needs to be sort of reduced or contained, and there might be some sort of shame around this. The other thing that is coming up here is, yes, some sort of like, it's making me think, I don't know who's a fan of Vampire Diaries and or who is a little bit upset that it's off Netflix right now. Anyway, but this idea of humanity being far away, so sort of fearing that if you go past a certain limit, you can't come back. So as in, like, to use a Vampire Diaries metaphor, like turning off your humanity. Maybe you have turned off your humanity, aka disconnected from your true feelings and your true desires about something, for fear that that desire may cause harm to others, or that if you take a step in that direction, you might lose yourself. Any and all those messages could be relevant for you. So let's see. So you're going to receive some really, really deep epiphanies, this Mercury retrograde, whenever you're watching, because when the sun shows up, it's all about complete illumination. It's about complete clarity of mind. I mean, I don't even really need to explain these two cards together because they're almost synonymous. What else do I see here? It says, actually, I don't know what this says. Glee, bloom. I don't know. These symbols kind of look like glee and bloom. So you're going to receive some sort of understanding about what it is you should do to optimize the situation you're in, whether this is external, whether this has to do with your habits, whether this has to do with changing your idea or your mindset when it comes to certain impulses or desires that you have. That is going to make you really happy. So you're going to receive this higher understanding, and it's going to basically sort of unburden you of these negative and fearful questions that you might be asking. Another thing with the wolf, spirit animals might be popping up, as well as like the dark wolf and the light wolf, and which side of your desires, your questions, your goals is good, which side is not. So you might be asking like really deep life questions about good and bad, whether something that you want is like moral, immoral, things of this sort. So okay, let's see. Two of Wands. Yes, this is about deciding where to move next, what direction to go in. Okay, and I am getting a little bit of a devil imagery here with this. This is a really cute deck. I'm using the Fantastic Menagerie Tarot for the first time, so it has really fun imagery here, but I don't know if you can see, there's a lot of sheen in the camera right now, but yeah, you see a goat here, and yes, it is bringing up a little bit of devil card energy, which is what I was sensing anyway from this card here. So cutting the deck at 7 of Cups and 4 of Wands. So you're unsure about this new path, this new direction that you are sort of forced to choose. You have to choose some sort of direction. You know that there needs to be a change in order for you to be happy, but potentially you might be compromising that happiness or waiting to make this choice in order to make sure that others are also happy, or that you're not hurting others. Okay, so this is on top. So Ace of Cups, this has something to do with something that you hold really dear to your heart. And the 6 of Wands, you're almost like afraid that if you just go for this, it's going to be some sort of unearned victory, or some sort of unearned like fulfillment, or temporary or instant gratification sort of thing. So you might be holding yourself back from that. Okay, so let's see. With the Star, you've been hoping to be able to make this choice, to be able to choose what it is you truly want here. This is a card of setting your sights on something really high, and it's funny, like this weird, I don't know what she is she like a goose or something? Definitely not a goose. I can't recognize these animals here, but she sort of has this outfit made of flowers, very flowery imagery here, which reminds me of that bloom, potential bloom symbol there. So yeah, it's all available to you, this manifested dream, this desire. But another thing that's coming to mind is that you might be asked to, oh gosh, that's too many, let's just pick 2 more, to wait a little bit, that this manifestation is not fully here, but it's not very far away actually. So 6 of Swords, yeah, moving in a different direction here. and we do have 2 sixes, so 6 of Wands and 6 of Swords, choosing the path that is higher, that you know is better for you, okay? And 10 of Swords, you're fearing that this path, this higher path is going to like betray you, that you're going to be disappointed if you choose this, if you engage that courage from within and choose this. So 2 of Cups at the bottom. This definitely might have to do with some sort of partnership, like we noticed 2 sort of connections there in the cards. And oh, actually I realized that I forgot to pick your bridging card between the tarot and the oracle cards, but we're going to take it right now. So let's see what it is. Wow, the card Extremes, intense. So 34 adds up to 7, so the 7th house of relationships. Also 25 adds up to 7, so this might definitely have to do with partnership, with being with the person you really want to be with. If there's some sort of external blockage right now, that's a further confirmation for you. If not, this has to do with potentially changing your mind a lot on this path when it comes to making this choice, when it comes to going for something you really want and then really changing your opinion about it, or changing your momentum, changing your idea. This also talks about summertime being a really important time for you potentially. Also, there have been so many heat waves lately, if you're watching this in September 2022, so that might have something to do with where you're at. But in any case, with the 2 sixes, this is definitely signifying both movement but a choice as well, because it's bringing up the Lovers card in the tarot, which is used to be called the choice. So definitely things to do with partnership here, with success, because the 6 of Wands, that's what that is about. And your fear that if you make a certain choice that feels risky, or that will involve a lot of your courage and conviction in it, you might lose everything, really, because the 10 of Swords is a card that signifies like rock bottom and being defeated. So this Mercury retrograde is definitely going to bring you the answer to this big question that you've been seeking, and it's also going to provide you with the discipline needed to wait for as long as you still need to wait, because that's what I was feeling here with this message about discipline in the 6th house. So we have 666, also a further indication of something that feels like temptation and the devil. Actually, you know, that's not like a satanic number or anything. It just signifies something in your life needs to change. If you see triple sixes, it means that the universe is encouraging you to make a change for the better in some area. In this case, potentially just making the change to no longer be in limbo about something, about someone, about a relationship, about whatever. So let's see. Yeah, this period, this retrograde season is going to bring you some sort of answer to these things that you've been seeking, and or the patience to wait if in your situation, like for example, you want to see some sort of manifestation of success for a goal that you've been having, and it's not coming. This is asking you to hold on just a little bit longer, because that success is just behind the corner. Okay, so let's see what's one thing that you can journal about during this time in order to sort of integrate these messages that Mercury retrograde wants to bring you. So what do I resist feeling right now? Okay, so yeah, also this card here makes me think of the energy of repression as well a little bit for some reason. So monster within, internal struggle. Yeah, there's some sort of emotional, also with the Ace of Cups, internal struggle that you've been going through that you may not have been wanting to acknowledge even to yourself. So something to journal on, to think about is we have to feel it to heal it. In order to let go of pain, we first have to honor its existence. Emotions are like waves. Some are soft, some are fierce, some are layered, and some will sweep you off your feet. When we allow ourselves to feel it all, we can then release what no longer serves us. So today's soul action would be allow yourself to feel this wave, let it move through you no matter how long it lasts, then release it back into the ocean. Feel it, heal it, enjoy the sweet freedom within your soul. So yeah, that's one thing to do, is to just sit there and sort of feel your emotions. And especially if you have like air placements or anything like that, like an air moon especially, which tends to intellectualize emotions rather than feel them or reflect on them or just let them wash over you, then this is telling you that there is a really important key within that ocean of feeling that can only be found if you fully surrender yourself to them without trying to resist them. Like that's either gonna tell you to wait a little bit longer, because I feel there's like 2 groups here watching, like one group who needs to wait a little bit longer to make this decision or to see this thing come through, and one person who needs to make the active choice to move on out of this state of limbo, even if it means losing like a previous dream here with the card that held a lot of promise for you, but that just simply does not feel like it's going to manifest, which will then liberate you and open you to opening yourself, opening yourself up to a much bigger dream that's actually also tangible and material reality too. as we see with the Two of Wands here, which for some reason does remind me of the Devil card, but the Devil card also indicates like Capricorn energy, therefore material pentacle energy. So this is also like this card with the journal prompt is talking to me about that other sort of element of solar energy, and the Sun card, which is about the things that, the corners, the dark corners, and maybe the monstrous little corners within your life, your soul, whatever you consider that to be, whether they are like that or not, your environment, your subconscious, which will be illuminated to such a degree that it might be painful if you're not ready to see it. So take really good care of yourself and be compassionate with yourself and your reactions, and potentially any trigger responses during this time, because all of those things are coming at you not to torture you or to make you feel crappy, but in order to reveal something that can only be accessed by walking through that door, which feels a little bit daunting right now. Like asking that question, just going to the root of it. Like that is what I'm feeling for you. Group number 4. Okay, so let's see. Let's get one more card for advice and then a final closing remark. Okay, and hardship. This came up in another pile, I think the first one. So may I embrace what's happening right now, as baffling or painful as it is. Help me, Spirit, to trust where you are guiding me. I am yours. Okay, so yeah, this is just, and look at this, loneliness at the bottom. When you stop fearing your aloneness, you stop settling for less than you deserve. I think that's a message that someone needs to hear for sure. Like you're afraid that if you face this truth, you're going to somehow be alone or be left out in the cold or miss out on some really important or loving partnership. But this is telling you that you cannot settle for something that is not fair to you. So may I embrace and love my solitude, and that's when kindred spirits can finally come. So another relationship message here. Yeah, definitely a confirmation for someone watching here. So let's get our final card. Well, okay, 2 came out together, so I'm just going to take them. I guess for you, I picked 2 cards from both of these decks. So I love my body and magic starts with me. So you have lots of control over this situation when it comes to simply, but that control sort of paradoxically is going to arrive as you surrender to everything that you're feeling, and as you also like sort of surrender into your body and allow it to guide you during this process of reflection and journaling and thinking and feeling. Okay, so that's what I have for you, group number 4. I really hope that some of this resonated. I would love to hear your comments, stories about this down below, as well as to get your shares, likes, subscribes, things of this sort. I would really appreciate it. I also have an Etsy for personal readings if you're looking for that. I do lots of in-depth astrological readings like birth charts, synastry charts, solar returns, and also shorter personal readings like love connection readings, etc. So yeah, check that out if you want. It's going to be linked below. And otherwise, I hope you have a magical day and hope to see you back here some other time. Bye. So hi to everyone who picked the 5th card. Let's see what Mercury retrograde is bringing for you. So the first oracle card is going to be talking about the overarching theme of this message: epiphany, revelation, higher understanding. So this is discipline, training, consistency, practice. And this is actually a very similar message to the previous card, which had a vampire girl playing violin. So maybe there's a string duo here in this reading for someone. Maybe music is important for you. Also, if you were drawn to the previous group, that might be an important one for you as well. There is a similar 6th house Virgo-y message there as well. So anyway, and these 2 cards represent the channels through which this epiphany, higher understanding, truth is coming to you. So moon, perception, and then good fortune. Okay, so definitely very similar energy to the previous group, especially because there we had a card that was 18 and it was the sun card, and here we have the moon card, which in this deck is 19, but actually in the tarot the moon is 18 and the sun is 19. So very sort of interesting, weird kind of downloady message. The night might feel like the day and vice versa for you now. You might find that your schedule is a little bit out of whack, like you might be sleeping mostly during the day, being up at night a lot. Like the 9 of Swords is kind of a card that I'm missing here a little bit. You're a little bit worried about something. You might be meditating or dreaming very vibrantly, very vividly at the moment. You might have some sort of visions about what you're asking about, what you're inquiring about. And I'm also noticing here in the background some electrical energy. So this is making me think of Uranus, and Uranus has been a big player in our astrology this year. So if you are watching this in September 2022, this is an indication that some big change that you have perhaps enacted in the past with your choices, your intentions, is about to manifest. So you have to keep going just a little bit longer, because discipline talks about consistency and about hard work. And practice makes perfect is sort of the phrase there associated with music, but to quote my old piano teacher, that is incorrect. Actually, perfect practice makes perfect. So yeah, a little bit of a nerdy pianistic musical moment here, but let's read from this guidebook. Let's see what this discipline message is about more. So maybe you've been feeling like a lot of your hard work has not manifested yet, and that you are working really like you're working 100% but getting 50% of the results. So this talks about you want something to be easier exactly than it must be in order for you to value it. You want something to happen faster than it can for your own growth and stability. You are, in short, much like most humans we see. This is the vampire speaking. You lack discipline. Okay, so a bit of a bossy message there, and that's a very sort of Virgo message, being realistic. There are times when we feel that in order to achieve something or to reach a goal, we need only meditate upon it, visualize it as being real, and it will therefore come to us through the process you have come to call the law of attraction. Okay, so a little bit of shading about visualization practice as a meditation, as we were already getting from these cards. So there is another law, the law of contribution and hard work and tenacity. It has no pretty name, it offers no quick fix, but it is real and its results are lasting and true. And this is the lesson with you at present. There need be no stress, resentment, or devaluation of what you will achieve simply because it did not arrive through effortless circumstance. The goal you have in mind is yours when you steel yourself to the hard work ahead. It will not be work that is wanted. It will require doing things that many feel are unpleasant, but that is only because you modern humans are being trained out of your abilities to take on great tests. So there is a desire within our culture, your culture, to all times experience happiness and comfort. It has created generations of people who are physically unwell, mentally lazy, and spiritually apathetic. The discipline that is being required of you will result in a great breakthrough. You know that a major part of your life requires a change, and the brutal truth which we give you here is that this will be hard. You must not wait for motivation and desire. You must commit and build the discipline to carry through this plan that will see so many blessings able to enter your life. Carving out the doorway will take willpower, action, and showing up again and again. Okay, so a very sort of ruthless message there. That is, it feels like that's the planet Saturn speaking directly to you. So to those who are going through your first Saturn return, or maybe a second Saturn return, this is definitely confirmation for that. And maybe this is also this sort of ruthless, realistic, but potentially like hurtful voice that you have been dealing with, like in a boss and a coworker and someone who has power over you, and someone that maybe you've given yourself, given too much of your power to. But this is telling you that this very, very Saturnian message is telling you that overnight success is not what you should be aiming for, and any sort of shortcuts, this is a message that came through in the collective reading, any sort of shortcuts through like supposed like magical activities like visualization, like law of attraction stuff, like those things will not last. This is what this is saying. Like, of course you can do those, you can enact those things in order to help to further just to magnify the energy that you are already contributing to through actual hard work and material commitment. But that those things will not be able to generate the long-term and the final result that you're looking for here, especially when we have good fortune here. So this might definitely be about money, about finances, about your legacy, about establishing some sort of relationship with the inflow of resources in your life in a way where they are coming in a very steady, continuous fashion. So that long-term goal will require lots of consistent effort and commitment. And the thing about the sixth house, which this card definitely signifies, is that sort of, and the moon too, this is like the perfect message, is that sometimes you just have to fake it till you make it, and you have to not lie to yourself about the progress that you're making, but you have to, yes, you have to envision it and keep it in your vision. And visualization is not at all something that is fake or that won't work. It's just that it might, even with lots of visualization practices, it still is going to require long-term work and commitment, and not hardship necessarily, but just, you know, a blood, sweat, and tears sometimes. And that this is going to, this sort of work right now, even on things that are like innate talents that you have here with, you know, if you are a musician, for example, or an artist, and you want to really be recognized for that. Like, even if you're really talented, if you're considered to have a very unique voice or a unique approach, or to be very innovative, like with the Uranian energy that we've seen here, like even that, like the more so that you recognize your talents, the more you have to work to channel them perfectly, and not perfectly necessarily, but to channel the full extent of them. Like, even when you've recognized your purpose, even when you have connected to the core of your soul passion, actually that's when the true hard work begins, because then you're actually sort of like in a battle with yourself, to sort of externalize that most like special element of yourself. Like, that's the hardest battle here, but that's good news, because this is something that has to do with you, your mentality, your own energy. This is not about you fighting others. This is not about you competing with others. This is about really channeling the core energy of your truest soul passion. And that takes time, and then it takes time to manifest success out of that. But when it does, it can never go away, because it's fully yours, and because you've done all the work to get it out there. Also, like for those who felt like unsupported, maybe you haven't had a teacher or a mentor or something like that, this is telling you that all the work that you've done independently without any sort of help is going to be just so much more rewarding when you finally get recognized for it, because you know that all of it was just your own. Wow, such a powerful message. So let's see what the bridging card is here. So amazing. Before we get into the tarot, so it says blue moon, the unexpected. Wow, that's awesome. And this is number 34 here with discipline, and this is number 43. So that's really exciting and amazing. And there's such mirroring energy here. And you also see two people on this one, and 4 and 3 and 4 make up 7, which is the 7th house of relationships and astrology. And that also indicates things like potentially like mentorships, like business partnerships, not just romance. So significant partnerships that will be able to, that are like once in a lifetime, that will be able to support you on this journey. So Mercury retrograde is bringing you all of this potentially harsh truth about the fact that success cannot happen overnight, but is going to guide you, going to give you some weird mystical signs. Like, I'm getting lots of mystical energy from all of these cards that will guide you in the right direction, so that you meet the right people serendipitously in such a magical way, so that they can give you certain advice, certain kind of maybe even tools and techniques, because we're talking about discipline. I'm just going to shuffle this properly before I pick anything, so that you fill in the gaps of what you cannot accomplish, even if you were to work your very hardest and as consistently as you humanly possibly can right now. So there's something that the universe is also going to provide you. So this is, I think, at a higher level, a message about faith in the universe, and knowing that like you can't control everything, but also that's a good thing as well. So sometimes, yeah, you can't manifest things on the spot magically, but that's also a good thing, because it's always about the synergy between your own free will and choices and hard work, as well as the response and the mirrored reaction of the universe and of all of the things, materials, people, environments, opportunities around you that come as a result of you just putting that energy of your work into the world, sending it out into the universe. And yes, maybe sending out some of those intentions, visualizations. So it's all about having faith, and even if things are not showing up, like this is also a sort of recurring message through these readings. Even if things are not showing up, doesn't mean that they are not coming. If this path has already been long and intense and what feels like incredibly difficult for you, just keep going. I know it's not the best thing ever. Yeah, okay, 5 of Swords. We see a moth there represented, and wow, that's important, because in the intro, in the collective reading, I talked about a moth who jumped into flame. I think now there's another bug in there, but anyway, who literally, she or they or them, him, jumped directly into the flame, like that, plunged into the flame, and of course immediately died. And the card that made me think of from this vampire deck, that's actually the reason I chose this vampire deck for this entire reading, was the card burned under the sun, or burned in the sun, or something like that, which I had just been getting in like previous readings that I was doing for people, which talked about like not being ready for the full manifestation of something. And one thing that is sort of weird and that people don't really realize is that a new level of success takes a new level of the ability to sustain that. Like you need new resources, new level of energy, a new sort of environment, sometimes a new place to live, etc., in order to sustain that success that you're looking for. So perhaps for like most of you, I feel like the reason why you haven't been getting this is because many other parts of your life, many other moving parts still need to lock into place in order for you to be able to contain that success, that good fortune, that good luck, that new reality that you want. So also, of course, there just might be unfinished business when it comes to just refining your technique, learning as much as you need to learn about a certain thing that you want to channel as like the main energy that you work with every single day in order to bring about fortune and success. So, okay, King of Coins, yeah, amazing. So 9 of Cups, 5 of Wands. Okay, so we have 2 5s. So with the moth, I think that was obviously the message. And oh my gosh, there is also a flame, a candle in this card. So that really, really strengthens that message. And it talks, of course, the 5 of Swords talks about betrayal and being taken advantage of, but it's also actually bringing up a different 5 of Swords card from the Light Seers deck, which always holds a different sort of imagery for me, which is about the hardship involved and long-term work. Like it shows someone climbing Mount Everest, I think, and there's like blood, like a trail of blood behind them. Like any sort of Mount Everest-like feat is going to require you to be in the best shape ever. So like if you want to, I don't know, like enter a music competition that is like top notch, like you need to be like Olympic athlete level ready for that. Or if you want to submit your work, whatever it is, to this like highest kind of level conference or journal or something like that, like it requires you to be at the very top of your abilities, and that might take some extra time. Okay, so Temperance, it's asking you to hold your horses a little bit when it comes to this desire, because it's going to manifest with the 9 of Cups. It's absolutely going to work out, and it's going to work out in the long term. Here with the King of Coins, like you want to be this person, you're going to be this person. It's just going to take a little bit longer, and you might have to deal with like some red tape, some annoying little circumstances. It might feel like every single time you take a step forward, someone challenges your authority, your power, someone gives you unwarranted criticism, things of this sort. You have to learn to ignore these things and to just keep holding that vision, those dreams, those wishes, because you know that this is coming. Absolutely, it's coming. There just might be some, like, okay, another message I'm getting. If you put your work out there right now and it's what feels like an unfinished form, like you might feel like you have to vouch for yourself or defend yourself or like argue for its worth, whereas if you wait a little bit longer via this Temperance card here, you're going to be seen as this beautiful, like creative, artistic, potentially if that's relevant for you, fiery, confident person who's in charge of everything that you're doing, who has the full power, who is mature enough, who is fully blossomed into their greatest potential. So there is a need to wait a little bit before going public with something, before publishing something, before hitting that submit button on whatever it is, maybe even an email that you're trying to send. So let's see if we can get a message about how you should be taking in these messages, these illuminations, these higher understandings that Mercury retrograde is wanting to bring you. And I feel like a lot of it is going to happen at night whenever the moon shows up. And this says perception, right? So there's something here that you need to adjust your perception on. And this makes me, I almost dropped that into the flame. Gosh, no. Makes me think of a compass or a protractor or something mathematical of this kind. So a sort of slight need to adjust by degree. That might also have to do with your work, with the way that you use techniques or approaches to manifesting things into the real world. So, okay, your journal prompt for how to make the most of these messages here is, where can I ask for more help in my life? And I feel like, wait a second, did I not have this card? I feel like I had this card before. Oh well, maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm just imagining it, but I think this is the one that needs to come through right now. Okay, so until we can receive with an open heart, we're never really giving with an open heart. When we attach judgment to receiving help, we knowingly or unknowingly attach judgment to given help. So today's soul action, today ask someone for help and receive it with an open heart. And the mantra would be, I ask for what I want and I'm open to receiving it. Okay, so this thing about like shifting your perception might have to do with some sort of internal self-given blockage that you've created for yourself when it comes to like independence for some reason. Maybe a lot of like the blockage that you're experiencing and manifesting this There was also like several messages about teachers and mentorship, and right now if you're watching this during Virgo season 2022, there is some encouragement to seek out like not necessarily expert advice, but just support from someone who has already done what you're doing, like especially if there is the need for you to be like an expert yourself. Like talking to someone who has gone through this whole process is going to be really, really helpful. So don't be stubborn or don't feel like it's weak to ask for advice or for assistance. You might be fearing that if you ask for advice, you're going to receive this negative criticism that we see in the cards here. But again, with this card, the unexpected, this is a wonderful message. This is talking about you coming into connection serendipitously with the people who you can be safe to open up to. You can be safe to rely on for true, not objective, but just loving and kind and constructive advice, even if it sometimes comes out ruthlessly as it did in this card. Like maybe that like first card rehearsed all your fears that you were contemplating on in this sort of like a moon-scaped Nine of Swords kind of way. So I hope you didn't click out if that message was a little bit too harsh at the beginning, but I hope you're still here. Anyway, but this is talking about being open to constructive criticism, and yes, closed off to just plain negative criticism, but being open to receiving help. And the more open you are right now with whatever circumstance you have going in your life, the more you're going to actually open this door to this unexpected series of events that connect you to not just one, but maybe multiple people who are truly rare finds, who are unique partnerships and connections for you in all areas of life, not just like career and business, but also love and friendship and everything else that's great. So, okay, let's see. Let's get one card for advice and then a closing message. Okay, one card fell on the floor, so I'm just going to assume that that one is not needed for us because I am not reaching there right now. Too many things on this table. Okay, so, ooh, that one really wanted to come out. Oh my gosh. This card, work. I'm now available to receive all who can benefit from my work. Use me to relieve suffering on the planet. May all who need me find me. The divine is my complete source for all prosperity and will provide. Okay, so yeah, all of this, if it feels like you're working too hard, like you're being extremely challenged, you are working this hard not just for yourself, for your ultimate success and good fortune, which is absolutely indicated and guaranteed here, but because all of the wisdom that you receive from this is going to make you a great mentor one day for other people, and you're going to have all of these keys to give away to everyone who wants to get support, who's going to be in a similar place that you're in right now. So that's why this is happening. This is amazing. I love it. So yeah, and ambition at the bottom. I think that this is also relevant. May I offer all my deepest longings to love itself and invite a divine plan beyond the mind's imagining. And look at how similar these colors are. We talked about that message of like, of course it's important to be focused and to be willful and all of this, but to expect that there is always that other side when it comes to receiving your manifestations. There's the side of everything else in the world that you can't control, and the universe has to sort of bounce back all of this energy, and it's going to happen in its own divine way that sometimes you might not understand, but which is going to be very satisfying when it comes. So please use me for the highest good. So once again, this message of like being used for the highest good, but also of just opening yourself up to a truth through this Mercury retrograde season, and allowing to become a channel for the truth that wants to come your way right now. Okay, so let's get a final closing message for you. Card number 5. Yeah. That one. Okay, so I sleep well and have good dreams. Important message. This is going to help calm the mind and all of these sort of inner, like potentially circular and never-ending monologues about failure and the fear of failure, or of just any sort of confusion that you might have been feeling in this moon sort of way here. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm feeling for you. Card number 5. I hope that some of this resonated. I would love to hear your stories about it and what's going on in your life right now. I also have an Etsy for personal readings. I do lots of in-depth astrological stuff like birth charts, solar returns, synastry charts. So let me know if you're interested in that. Check it down below. And I would really appreciate your likes, shares, subscribes, and so on. And yeah, I hope you have a magical day, and that I will see you here some other time. Bye.